Hey guys, welcome to Green Bean Fiction. So in today's video we are gonna see, what if Deku became an underground tech prodigy? Part 1. This story is Goldberg by nowikugo. Before starting, make sure to hit that like button, as your one like motivates me to bring more stories, and subscribe the channel if you are new so you won't miss our latest videos. Third person POV. Hollow left pointing small triangle, 5 years old filled right pointing small triangle. Sorry kid, it's just not happening. The quirk doctor slumped back in his chair as he began explaining joints in feet. The little boy he was talking about, however, was barely paying any attention to his words. He sat in his seat beside his worried mother, stunned. His mind had stopped working and it was as if the rest of the world had faded away. He barely registered when his mom thanked the doctor and brought him out to the car. He didn't hear her words of encouragement. He didn't see her sympathetic glances. He didn't see her poorly hidden expressions of fear. Welcome home. A tall, brown-haired man with a scruffy face with freckles cheered as his wife and son came through the door. How did it go? Did you get a quirk as amazing as Katsuki's? The man stared at his solemn family for a moment before misunderstanding their tear-filled eyes. Hey, Zuki, it's okay. He bent down and wrapped his son in a gentle hug. For a moment, Izuku broke out of his small mental trance and felt a spark of hope from his father's encouragement. That is, until his next words came out. I'm sure whatever quirk you got, it can still help you become a hero, just like All Might. Hisashi didn't notice how the small boy stiffened as he continued. Whatever quirk you got, just be grateful. It's better than being quirkless no matter what. In the corner of the room, Inko covered her mouth to muffle her sobs as she turned away. So, Zuki, why don't you tell me what quirk you got? Hisashi pulled away from the hug to look at his son. Izuku stood, frozen with fat tears building up in his eyes. He met his father's gaze and the dams finally broke, letting the waterfalls loose. I'm QQ quirkless. Izuku began sobbing into his hands as he stood in front of his father, not wanting to see his reaction. He stood there for 5 minutes until his sobs turned into small hicks and he dared a glance at his father. He hadn't moved since Izuku told him. He had his head down with his hair covering his eyes. The sight scared Izuku as he had never seen his dad like this before. Dad. It was barely a whisper, but the words echoed throughout the apartment entrance. The echo of the unsteady voice was overpowered by the loud slap of skin on skin. From the corner, Inko violently flinched as she took another step away from the scene. Izuku's head was snapped to the side as he stared wide-eyed at the wall. He slowly lifted his trembling hand up to his face where his father had slapped him. The stinging feeling throbbed as his heartbeat quickened. I am not a father to quirkless scum, his father hissed with venom lacing his words. Izuku slowly turned his head to look at his father. His mind wasn't able to understand anything that was happening. Did I say you could speak? Hisashi rounded his fist back and punched his son in the gut, making him tumble to the ground clutching his stomach with tears streaking down his freckled face. Hisashi, he's just a child. What are you doing to our son? Inko finally found her voice after seeing her son fall to the ground at the hands of her husband. She began walking over to the man but stopped after he snapped his head towards her. It is not my son. He stepped around the fallen boy's body and walked out the door. Hollow left pointing small triangle, next day filled right pointing small triangle. Izu, over here. What took you so long? A small ash blonde boy waved over his green-haired friend. A few days prior, they had agreed to meet at the park to share the results of Izuku's quirk. The bush-haired boy shuffled over to his friend with his bandaged face down. Hey Kachan, he mumbled as he began to fumble with his shirt hem. Overlooking his timid behavior, the blonde kept talking. So, how'd it go? What quirk did you get? It's probably really cool and practical knowing you. Although mine's still better, he smirked as he popped small explosions from his hands. He failed to notice the small flinch from his best friend. About that. Tears already began welling in his eyes. I actually didn't get a QQ quirk. Huh, what do you mean? And speak up, I can barely hear you. I'm Q quirkless. There was a stunned silence from the obnoxious blonde as his mind began processing what that meant. Oh, I see. The two young boys stood together in an uncomfortable silence for a minute before the blonde broke it again. Do you still want to be a hero? The shorter of the two looked up to see his friend's downcast face. He was surprised at the question, but a hesitantly determined look overcame his face as he answered. Yes. No. The blonde suddenly snapped, shocking the brunette. What do you mean, Kachan? You can't be a hero. You're just a useless Deku, he spat. Kachan. A quirkless extra like you can never be a hero. Just give up. With that he pushed his friend and walked away. As he walked, tears began forming in his ruby eyes at the words he had said to his best friend. Those tears began falling as he heard his friend begin crying and running away. It's for the best. I need to protect him. 8 years old filled right pointing small triangle. Is defined as Katsuki Pav is defined as. That damn nerd is late again. Why is he almost always late to school? I leaned my head on my hands as the lesson started without a mop of green hair. About halfway through the boring class, the door opens and the bush walks in. Sorry I'm late, he mumbles a weak apology before handing his late slip to our teacher. It's fine Midoriya, just sit down and try to catch up with the lesson so far. Our teacher turned back to his lesson as Deku walked to his desk. Multiple times people tried to subtly trip him or throw paper balls at his head. As he walked past my desk, he seemed to shrink in on himself and bring his arms closer. This is how I got a small peek at the bandages under his sleeves and bruises around his neck. How the hell did he get those? Hollow left pointing small triangle 10 years old filled right pointing small triangle. Katsuki, get your ass to school right now or else you're going to be late. The old hag's voice screeched from the kitchen. All right, I'm going you old hag. I yelled back with the same volume. I grabbed an apple in my bag as I walked out of our house. I walked through the neighborhood getting lost in my own thoughts until I walked past that damn nerd's apartment. What I saw made me stop dead in my tracks. There he was, climbing down the side of the building from his third-story window with his bag in hand. I'll never admit to anyone how I was amusingly impressed with how well he got down. As he dropped down, his mess of green curls bounced. He brushed his hands off and began walking until he stopped and stared at me wide-eyed. What the hell, was all I could say. Oh, hey Kachan, he stuttered as he began to fidget with his fingers and avoid my eyes. Why the hell are you climbing out of your window? His eyes kept glancing around but still managed to avoid me. My mom, just mopped the floors. So I see couldn't use the door. I stared at him for a moment before shrugging it off and walking away. Whatever, not like I care. Now, as you can see here, when you're doing long division, don't forget to check. Our teacher kept rambling on about different math things that we already learned and are stupid easy. I blocked out his lecture as my thoughts began to wander to a freckled boy. He was clearly lying about why he went out the window. But why would he need to? My mind flashed back to 2 years ago when I first got a glimpse at his injuries. Since then, I have seen a few every now and then. It could be from the students, not like I don't beat him up sometimes too. But whenever we do, there's never any blood, and I have seen his arms with blood-soaked bandages. Something is definitely going on, and I want to know what. Even though I bully him every day, I really just want to keep him safe. I now know this was not the way and wish I could apologize. Class dismissed, have a nice night everyone. I sat at my desk pretending to be doing something on my phone as everyone slowly filed out of the room. Hey Bakugo, want to go to the arcade? Extra number 1 asked. No. AWWH, come on Bakugo, it'll be fun. Extra number 2 whined. No, go away, I replied without looking up from my phone. You're no fun Bakugo, extra number 2 said as they finally walked away. Once I was sure they were gone, I glanced over to see Deku still writing in his notebook. Hey, damn nerd just can't help himself. I let a small smile appear on my face but quickly replaced it with my usual scowl as I walked over to the door, closing and locking it, making sure no one will interrupt this. At the sound of the door closing, he jumped in his chair and looked around, seemingly just realizing the day was over. He looked at me with a fearful expression. Oi, Deku, I started. Hi Kachan. What or why you doing? He began to pack his stuff up trying to get out of the room. I walked towards him, causing him to go faster. Calm down you damn nerd, This seemed to confuse him. Wah. I grabbed his arm before he could finish and pulled down his sleeve to reveal slightly bloodied bandages. My scowl softened slightly upon seeing his injured arm and knowing that there were probably others. How did you get these? I whispered as I inspected them. They seemed pretty fresh. It's nothing, Kachan. I just fell. He tried pulling his arm away, but I kept a firm hold, causing him to flinch. No, you didn't. I began to slowly take off the bandages. Kachan. What are you doing? His eyes began darting around the room like he was trying to find an escape. I ignored his question in favor of the bandages. Kachan, stop. Please. Tears began to well up in his emerald eyes. Just what the hell are under these damn bandag? My train of thought stopped as the bandages finally fell to the ground. His arms were littered with random scars. Some looked like knives, scratches, scrapes, and some I couldn't figure out. But the worst were the burns. He had some open wounds and black and blue bruises running all along his arm. Kachan. Stop. He snapped me out of my gawking as he began trying to pull his sleeve down and get his arm away. Izu. I whispered, making him stop and look at me. There were tears already starting to roll down his freckled cheeks from his panic-filled eyes. What is happening? And don't even try to lie. I know something is happening. You've been coming to school late a lot and have had injuries for the past few years. Just please. Tell me. Tears began to fill my eyes as well as I looked at him with pleadingly. He bit his lower lip as more tears fell down. Kachan. He croaked as he suddenly hugged me and began to sob into my shoulder. I welcomed him and wrapped my arms around him, rubbing circles on his back. Just what happened to you, Izuku? Izuku Pav is defined as. Well, when I woke up this morning, I was not planning on staying at school late, crying into Kachan's shoulder, and about to share my sob story. Life really is full of surprises. Where should I even start? Well, obviously at the start. I leaned away from Kachan, not even caring about how I was acting. I cleaned my face with my sleeve and sat back in my chair. Here goes nothing. I stuttered. I hate my stutter. This is so much easier to say in my head. Why couldn't he have a mind-reading quirk so I wouldn't have to have a full-blown fight with my tongue? Before you start, yes, please, stall as long as you want. I just want to say that I'm sorry. Wait, what? I'm so sorry for how I've treated you all these years. I just wanted to keep you safe. I was so stupid. I thought that if I forced you to not be a hero you'd give up. I just didn't want to see you get hurt or your hopes up only to get them crushed. I see now that that was wrong. I'm so sorry. Holy shit. Katsuki Bakugo is apologizing to me and crying. Kachan. I don't deserve your forgiveness. I promise you that starting now, I will work to be worthy of it. He wiped his eyes and looked at me with genuine determination. Now, as I say that, he smiles sadly. I still need to know what is going on with you. Fuck my life. I began fiddling with my fingers trying to get my mouth to cooperate. I took a glance at his face and for some reason felt so safe. Well, where do I start? I nervously chuckle. Obviously at the start. After I got back from the quirk doctor, my dad got all pissed that I'm quirkless and since then he basically takes every chance he has to beat me up. It started with just some kicks, punches, and slaps every now and then. The N has started to stop feeding me and hitting me more, and the NAFAW years ago has started using his quirkonmin, then has started to bring in different tools house on me, and now I think he just enjoys it, and honestly I'm grateful he's still letting me have my roommates. My sankwati, I mean he freaks out whenever I make any noise. My mom sneaks me food but sometimes it's hard and Izu. I flinched, snapping me out of my rant. Sorry, was I mumbling? I nervously scratched my neck. Yeah, I caught some of it though. I'm so sorry. I should have noticed earlier. No. This isn't your fault. Don't apologize. I waved my hands in front of myself trying to convince him. Still, I'm sorry. Okay, what the actual fuck is happening? Hollow left pointing small triangle 2 months later filled right pointing small triangle. After Kachan and I talked, we started getting a lot closer again. He stopped bullying me and has been defending me against our classmates. It's been really nice not getting beaten up or yelled at 24/7. Of course, I still have home. Kachan has been offering me to come over to his house a lot. I can see why, and honestly, I wish I could. But I have to go home eventually, and if I am too late, he is in the living room and that never ends well. He's also been waiting for me under my window every morning with some breakfast and an extra lunch. It's been really nice not having to go through the school day completely starved. An added plus is that I don't have to worry about my mom being caught swiping food. Every night, Kachan texts me asking how I'm doing. It's really weird having someone other than my mom worrying about me. I can't help but feel bad whenever I can't text him back. Every Friday, he usually goes out drinking, and when he comes back, he beats me to a pulp and I usually can't move until the next morning. Kachan full out spams me whenever this happens. All in all, these 2 months have been really weird, but a good weird. Oi, Izu, you sure you don't want to come over today? Kachan asked as we walked to my house after school. I'm sure, Kachan, thanks though, I gave him a small smile. But, today is Friday. He looked down, probably trapping himself in a loop of what he imagines happens to me. I don't have the heart to tell him it's worse. It's okay, Kachan, I'll be fine. Don't worry too much about me, okay? He gave me a hesitant look. That's what you always say. Well, we're here, I'll see you on Monday. Have a nice weekend, Kachan. I waved to him as I started up the stairs to my front door. Bye, Izu, stay safe. I hesitated to open my door for a second, before pushing it open. I made sure to open it slowly in case it creaked. I quickly went in and did my routine of putting things away. He is almost never home when I come home, but I've learned that you can never be too safe. As soon as all my things were away, I rushed over to my mom's room. I took a deep breath before opening the door to face her. Hey Mom, how was your day? I stood at the foot of her bed and gave her a small smile. She returned the smile. My day was great, thank you for getting me hooked on this book series, it really is good. How was your day, honey? It was great. Kachan is being really caring lately and I aced my science test. That's great, dear. Want to play some board games? Sure. We both played for the rest of the night. We almost forgot about all of the abuse he puts me through and all the machines in the room that are the only things keeping my mom alive. Izuku Pav is defined as. What the heck? Am I still asleep and having one of those dreams that feel like they last days? I was confused out of my mind on Saturday when I woke up on a futon beside my mother's bed with no new injuries. I sat down at my desk in my room reading about All Might's giant fight last night and began to think. Did he get too drunk and pass out? If that's the case, he should be home around noon and be even madder. Nope. My mind struggled to understand what was happening as I laid back on my futon after spending more time with my mom. Every morning when I woke up, I expected to see him in the kitchen with his quirk ready to give me the beating of a lifetime. Every night I laid down and tried to understand that he didn't seem to be coming home. Am I finally rid of him? I was deep in thought as I walked out my front door on Monday morning for the first time since preschool. I walked down the stairs to be greeted with an almost equally confused Kachan. What the hell? You used the door. He tilted his head to the side trying to understand what was happening. I did. I mumbled. Are you going to explain how you were able to? He's not home. At this Kachan's eyebrows shot straight up and his jaw dropped. What do you mean? He didn't come home on Friday. Really? Izu. That's great news. That bastard's finally gone. His face lit up as he walked over to me and handed me my food. But, what if he comes home? And where is he? Why isn't he here? Izu. While these are all good questions that I'd also like answered, you need to relax. Stop thinking of the what ifs and be happy. He's finally gone. And from the looks of it, he's gone for good. So don't worry that giant brain of yours. He ruffled my already messy hair and smiled as we started walking. I guess you're right, but I'm still going to be careful. If you're going to be careful until he gets back, you might be careful your whole life. Sure. Be careful for the first few weeks if you need to be, but if I were you, I'd be celebrating. Good fucking riddance. I smiled hearing his words, beginning to wonder. Maybe I can have a normal life after all. Hollow left pointing small triangle 11 years old filled right pointing small triangle. Well, this isn't good. And here I was just starting to think I could have a normal life. I just had the worst 12 hours of my life, and that's saying a lot with the life I have. It was a normal morning when I woke up and found my mom having another episode. Except today, it was much worse. There was blood and bile everywhere. After I got her somewhat stable, I went to the Mediclinic to see if they have anything stronger or better for her. Unfortunately, when I described it to the pharmacist, Joe, he told me that she should be taken to the hospital immediately. Yeah, I can't do that. You see, I don't have any money, legal identification that hasn't expired, or an excuse on why she has been in an apartment with a serious, unidentified illness for almost 2 years with only an 11-year-old to take care of her. So, no hospitals. Luckily for me, this particular pharmacist is like 80 and loves kids. He's been working here for longer than I've been alive. He used to give me bandages and some burn ointments when he was around. Of course, I've never actually told him anything about him and only brief descriptions about my mother's condition, but I'm pretty sure he has a sweet spot for me. This theory was proven correct today when he told me to stay after closing. After he closed the store and blinds, he gave me some new medication. He told me this stuff should help, but costs a fortune that I can pay him back for. He did, however, tell me that if I don't pay at least 50% of the initial cost in the first 6 months, his clients will have both of our heads. Lucky me, I have no choice. I took the medication and gave a dose to my mom. Giving your sick mother a needle to the neck is not enjoyable. As she slept, I went back to my room and laid down in my bed staring around. Scattered everywhere were a bunch of half-assed inventions I've made to keep me occupied throughout the years. I've always loved creating things. It gives me complete control over something. Ever since my mom got sick, I've been meaning to make her something that will help when I'm not around. Now, how the fuck am I going to get this money? I can't get a job, I'm 11. I haven't told Kachan about mom, and I wouldn't want to ask the Bakugos for this much money. They already do enough. I seriously doubt that I could ever even fathom the idea of stealing. I may be quiet, but I don't think I can steal enough to pay for this. I'm too young for a loan or anything with the bank really. I sighed as I began to fumble around with my laser gun in the making. Wait, I literally face-palmed as I stared at my work desk. What can I say? Sometimes you're smart, sometimes you're oblivious, and sometimes you're a reckless idiot who is just asking for stress and danger. I can't believe my brain came up with this, let alone agreeing with it. This is so stupid, but so smart, and it's my best option. How do you even start something like this? Do I put an ad on Kijiji saying, "Hey, I'm a smart 11-year-old in debt who can make a bunch of shit. Want anything? Ring me up." Yeah, no, well, if I'm going to do this, I better start figuring out the details. I guess I'm going to be paying off my debt with the money I make from creating custom inventions. Third-person POV is defined as hollow left pointing small triangle 15 years old filled right pointing small triangle. You sure Izu? Katsuki turned around to walk backwards down the middle school halls with his best friend. I'm sure Kachan. Think about it, I may be able to pass the entrance exams without a quirk, but, the greenette smirked at the ash blonde as they walked out of the school doors, I would rather spend some time in the support course to sharpen my skills and show off at the sports festival. Wow, Izu, sometimes, you scare me with how much you plan ahead, Bakugo chuckled as they started walking home. Why, thank you, Izuku smiled brightly. Not sure if that was really a compliment. You still are going to become my sidekick, right? Partner, not sidekick, he corrected. Yeah, sure. We'll be the #1 hero duo and kick a bunch of villain ass. Hell yeah. The two boys continued talking about random things from prepping for the exams to different heroes. Hey, want to go to this new cafe tomorrow? I heard they have really good coffee, Izuku asked as they approached his apartment complex. Of course you'd know. Maybe instead of staying up working on inventions and drinking coffee, you should try sleeping. Yeah, I'm not going to sleep at 8:30 like some people. Shut up. You should try it sometime. Your sleep schedule is so fucked up that it'd probably be good for you to sleep early. And it'd probably be good for you to try going to sleep at normal times. You literally texted me, "Good night," at 4 a.m. last night. And then you text me, "Good morning," at 6 a.m. Okay. First of all, I was finishing an invention last night, and second of all, I had to get ready for the day so I woke up early. Izuku shrugged his shoulders. Wow, anyway, sure I'll go with you. If you're going to survive off caffeine, you should at least have good caffeine, Katsuki sighed. Thanks Kachan. I'll see you tomorrow. He ran up the stairs and into his apartment. TCH, damn nerd always acting like he's got things to do. Bakugo left to go home with a small smile on his face. Meanwhile, is defined as Izuku Pav is defined as. I walk into my house and quickly and silently put my things away. What can I say? Old habits die hard. I then walk over to my mom's room and open the door. Hey mom, I'm home. I plastered on a sweet smile as I walked into the room. It was a decent-sized room, and the biggest in the apartment. She was sitting on a queen-sized bed with an oxygen tank hooked up to her nose. The far side of the room had a metal box with wheels that I made her after I broke the bedside table. It's connected to a remote that she can use to give her different things to keep her busy during the day. There were quite a few different things around the room, including a sort of vending machine, making the room look like something you'd see in a time-traveling movie when they go into the future. Zuzu, welcome home. How was school? She placed her sketch pad down, revealing half-finished guidelines to a person. It was good. We talked about high school a bit. I still want to go to UA, but I'm going to apply for the support course and then after the sports festival get into the hero course with Kachan. Look at my smart little boy. All grown up and already going into high school. Her large, emerald eyes began to fill with tears and her lip began to quiver. Come on mom, don't cry. You're going to make me cry. I sniffle and let out a breathy laugh at how cheesy this scene must look. Sorry Zuzu, I'm so proud of you. I still can't believe you got a job so young and are able to pay for all the bills. I wish I could be a better mother and take care of you. Not the other way around, she smiled sadly and wiped away more tears. I never really know what to say when she mentions this. For starters, I mostly lied about the job. I told her I'm an online tutor for a bunch of rich kids. When in reality, I'm a support gear dealer in the underground for rich people. Also, while it's true I completely take care of her, she will never know how much she has helped me throughout my life. After a little more small talk, I leave her to her drawing to go to work. In the past few years, my room has changed quite a bit. All of my hero merch got sold when I was getting desperate for money to buy my mom a birthday present and make her a good meal. You may see the amount of money I get paid for my inventions and think we're rich, but business can sometimes be slow and then when I get a client, I have to pay debt and buy food and materials first. This usually leaves us with little to no savings or fun money. We really are living paycheck to paycheck. Since my mom is physically incapable of leaving her bed, I rarely clean. My room is a complete mess with random half-finished inventions and scrap parts everywhere. There's a bunch of blueprints fully covering 3 of my walls and a bunch of stacks of notebooks with notes on different things. I sit down at my workbench and put the little finishing touches on my latest order. I look up at the clock and see that it's already 12 a.m. Kachan would be pissed if he knew my night was just starting. I walk over to my mom's room to see her sleeping with a finished self-portrait beside her. I walk back to my room and pack my bag with the gadget and get dressed. As an extra precaution, I made a disguise for myself. It's pretty simple, just a hoodie, cargo pants, and a bunny mask with a black wig attached. I'm quite proud of my mask. I put in a voice modifier, an untraceable phone with the police department on speed dial, and my eyes look like static computer screens when really it allows me to get a rundown on the person I look at including quirk, age, criminal record, fighting style, and more. Of course, this may seem extra, but it has happened more than once when someone tries to scam me and kill me for my creations. Besides, when working in the underground, you can never be too careful. I climbed out my window and up to the roof. I then began to jump from rooftop to rooftop getting to my rendezvous point. I always arrive about 30 minutes before to scout out the area to make sure it's safe. As I jump around in the moonlight and finally settle on a rooftop waiting for my client to show, I begin to think about my bills and how much this job will cover. Right at the scheduled time, a slim man walks into the alleyway. Time to get paid. Third person POV is defined as. A slim man leaned against the wall of an alleyway, hiding in the shadows. He checked his silver watch, seeing that he was perfectly on time. When he looked back up, he saw that he was no longer alone. A couple meters away from him stood a short figure with a rabbit's mask and static-filled eyes. "Watermelon," the man said, with no hesitation. "Squid," a deep, intimidating voice came from the other. The figure opened his bag and took out a small box. He opened it to reveal a slim, silver bracelet. The bracelet was lifted out and the figure tapped it 3 quick times, revealing a small, detailed hologram of the city. He moved his hand through it, showing how you can change the angles and zoom in and out. With the demonstration over, he put it back in the box and pulled out a printed booklet, supposedly something similar to an owner's manual. The slim man chuckled at the booklet and shrugged off the wall. He pulled out a wad of cash from his pocket. The two began walking towards each other. When they were 2 feet apart, they both stopped. They exchanged the items and walked away, exactly as they always do. The man looked down at his new accessory, and when he looked back up, the figure was gone. He cracked a smile and shook his head. "Pleasure doing business with you, Goldberg. Is defined as Izuku Pav is defined as." I settled down on a rooftop a few blocks away from my rendezvous point and pulled out the cash. I carefully counted it, making sure I had all the money. I've done business with Kato plenty. He's a regular who has been hiring me basically from the start. I mostly trust him with paying, but you can never be too sure. Confirming that he paid full, I put the money back in my bag, glanced around to make sure no one could see, took off my mask, put it away and climbed down the fire escape. Once on the ground, I began walking the few blocks to the pharmacy. I'm sure it'd be a little weird to see a teenager walking around at 2 a.m. with a bag in a run-down area, but what are you going to do? When I got to the pharmacy, the sign said it was closed and all the lights were off with the blinds down, but I just walked in. I was welcomed with an old man behind the counter seemingly organizing different pills. "Hey there, Joe, how's business?" I asked casually as I walk over to the counter. "Oh, welcome back, Izuku. Business has been good, same as always. How's your mother?" He looked up at me as I began digging in my bag. "She's doing good, her condition is the same, which I guess is good since she's stable, but I wish she'd get better." I frowned as I slid the bulk of my money over to him. "I'm sorry, there isn't anything better I can give you. If I hear about anything, you'll be the first person I tell." He gave me a small close-eyed smile. "Thanks, Joe. I'll see you around." I wave to him and I walk out, knowing that that only made a small dent in my growing debt. "Kachan, if you're so worried about me being tired, then hurry your ass up so we can get to the cafe faster," I yelled after I interrupted Kachan's ramble about my sleep schedule. The first thing he asked when he saw me was when I went to bed last night. I hadn't gotten home until around 3 a.m. and then I got a new order from a new customer that I started to plan out, so I hadn't gone to bed until around 5. All right, we walked together, bouncing random topics off of each other, not even realizing when we were on the opposite side of the city under a random overpass. "Hey Izu, where the hell are we?" Kachan stopped and looked around, trying to pinpoint our location. You're kidding. How the hell did we get lost? We've been walking for 2 hours. What the fuck? Calm down. Let's just keep walking. I can't wait to get to the cafe. I want to show you one of the projects I just finished. I'm pretty sure we're somewhat near Ua, maybe 10 blocks away. Did we take a detour or something? How'd we end up here? Wait, you've never been here before. That's weird. I continued to mumble, barely even noticing when Kachan had stopped until I heard an unfamiliar voice. "Ooh, what a nice vessel you'll be. Just relax, kid, it'll be over before you know it." A large sludge monster had wrapped around Kachan's body, making it so he couldn't move. He looked like he couldn't breathe either. Without thinking, I reached into my pocket and pulled out my special Swiss Army knife I always keep on hand. I quickly threw it, letting it spin through the air and hit the villain right in his exposed eye. The sludge screeched, losing hold on Kachan as it then noticed me. I felt a wave of relief flood over me seeing Kachan free, but soon was overcome with panic as the sludge changed his focus onto me. Well, I guess I'm sorta lucky today. I get a chance to test out my new gadget in the field. Moving quickly, I reached back into my pocket and pulled out what looked like a metal toothpick. I pricked my finger on the top, making it grow to 4 feet long. I detached the 2 pieces to make 2 2-foot Eskrima sticks. Knowing that electricity flows through liquids and that this was a person's quirk, I ran towards the villain, and as soon as I was close enough I stuck one in and clicked the button, shocking the villain. I watched with satisfaction as the electricity rippled through until he fell limp, or at least, as limp as a liquid can be, and I ran over to Kachan. "Holy fuck, Izu," Kachan breathed. "Are you okay, Kachan?" I asked as I helped him up. "Am I okay? I'm fine. But what the fuck did I just watch? And what the hell are those?" He pointed at the 2 sticks in my hands. "This is the invention I wanted to show you," I explained as I snapped them back together and shrunk them back down to fit in my pocket. "You made that? Yeah, geez Izu. When you said you just mess around with designs, this is not what I thought you meant." "That was fucking badass." He ran a hand through his spiky hair as an amused smile crossed his face. I scratched my head nervously and mumbled a quick, "Thanks. Have no fear, for I am here." A cloud of dust came up from the ground as a large bulky man literally fell out of the sky, striking a pose. "All Might." Kachan and I both gawked. Ha, where is the VILLAI? He stopped mid-sentence upon seeing a puddle of a villain behind us. "Oh, we actually just knocked him out, so you don." My explanation was cut off as he began doing a fake laugh. My, it seems I have incapacitated the evildoer merely from my appearance." He shook his head with his signature smile still shining. "What the hell are you talking about? Izu was the one who—" "I'm sorry, but I must be taking the evildoer to the station now." "Okay, but you didn't do she." All Might completely ignored Kachan as he walked past us and scooped the villain up into a bottle. Disregarding his weird tactics, I decided to ask a question I've been wondering since I was 5. "Hey All Might, can I ask you a question?" I stepped towards him, getting nervous. "Of course, I'll sign an autograph, loving fan." He turned towards me, stretching up to his full height. "I know that I'm short for my age, you don't have to flex how unnaturally tall you are." Actually I wanted to ask if— Here, I found your notebook over here. You must have dropped it when I came down." "I already signed it." He handed over my notebook to see his sloppy signature scribbled over my precious notes. "What the fuck?" I screeched. I caught All Might flinch at my sudden outburst. "Now I must be going. Do you have any idea what you just did? You son of a bitch." I glared at him as I balled my hands into fists. Kachan walked over to me and looked at my notebook, seeing all my notes ruined. "I must hurry to the police station now." He turned away and got ready to jump, until I put my hand on his shoulder, stopping him. "Okay, I'm going to try and overlook how much shit you just put me in and ask you a question," I said, barely containing my boiling rage. "Can someone like me, without a quirk, ever hope to become a hero?" All Might stared at me for a moment before breaking out into a laugh. "A quirkless hero? Of course not. That's the most absurd thing I've ever heard. If you want to help people, you might be able to become an officer if you're lucky." He continued laughing as he leapt away, leaving us alone in a tunnel. "Izu," Kachan whispered from behind me. "What he said isn't true. I know you can become just as good of a hero as anyone. We'll be the #1 hero duo, remember." I know that, Kachan. That bitch's words won't make me give up. If anything, it makes me want to prove him wrong even more. I turned around, smiling at him with a determined look on my face. "Now, let's go to that cafe." Izuku POV is defined as hollow left pointing small triangle, entrance exams day filled right pointing small triangle. Today is the day. Me and Kachan are taking the entrance exams to Uahai today. We've been training and studying together for the past 10 months. Of course, he trains his quirk alone, and I usually invent by myself. I had actually gotten a part-time job at the new cafe we had gone to. It's been helping to pay my bills while my other job pays solely for my mom's medication debt. My boss is really nice and gave me a really flexible schedule since I'm a student. As Kachan and I approached Ua, we couldn't help but stare a little at just how big the campus was. It's probably 10 times the size of our middle school at least. We wished each other luck as we went off to our separate exam rooms. My exam was a written test with an extra part involving a safety test, and a blueprint sketch and mini model of a simple support item. I totally aced it. I finished with half the time still remaining, so I decided to decorate my mini model. I got quite a few glances from the other examinees when I began adding small details to my mini model of a shape-shifting motorcycle, slightly referenced off the pre-quirk hero Batman's Batmobile. I did, however, notice another student who finished fairly quickly who had begun making other models completely unrelated to the exam. She had a crazed look in her golden eyes and a creepy grin smeared across her face. I think we could be friends. When we were finally let out, I saw that I got a text from Kachan saying he has to do a practical that will take a while and that I could head home without him. Yeah, right. I walked over to the faux city where Kachan was and saw that they were almost done, so I decided to wait. I closed my eyes and leaned against a wall as I listened to all the commotion coming from the students just on the other side. When the exam was finally done, I saw Kachan get dragged to a tent by Recovery Girl. Probably sprained his wrists from all those explosions. As I had just begun to close my eyes again, I caught Purple One staring at me, looking confused. "Can I help you?" I asked lazily, making the boy walk over to me. He had matching purple hair that stuck straight up and dark eye bags that were almost as bad as mine. A giant plus, he smelled like coffee. "How did you get out of the city so fast?" he asked. His voice was pretty soothing. "Easy, I never went in." This made him cock an eyebrow at me. "I didn't take the exam." "Then why are you here?" "Waiting for a friend." "You came all the way here to wait for your friend?" "Yup." There was a bit of a silence. He seemed to not know what else to say. "You smell nice." "Excuse me?" he asked, shocked. The look on his face was priceless. I smiled as I continued to tease him. "Your voice is really soothing too." He began to get flustered. "What? Never gotten a compliment before." I chuckled. "Man, this guy looks so confused." "Well, not really." He cleared his throat, seemingly trying to find his composure. "Do you just go around and compliment strangers without knowing anything about them?" "You don't know anything about me." "Sure I do. You smell like coffee, you have a nice voice, and judging by those bags, you seem to be an insomniac. Besides, you don't seem like a bad guy." "You sure?" "Yup. You don't even know my name or quirk." "Well, if you're so eager for me to know, then do tell." This seemed to make him a little uncomfortable. Strange. "I'm Hitoshi Shinso, and my quirk is brainwashing." Now, this perked my interest. "That explains a lot," I mumbled, although he heard. There was a look that crossed his face like he was trying to mentally prepare for my next words. "Of course a cutie like you would have a quirk that you need to get someone to do something for. Your voice is really nice, so it must have something to do with talking." Man, knowing this society, that must have been a pain in the ass growing up with, I sighed. "What?" He looked awestruck at my words. "Yeah, it's a really cool quirk that fits you pretty well from what I've seen and could be really helpful if you want to be a hero, as you clearly do, since you know, you're at the exams to get into the hero course. You don't think it's villainous, or that I'm a villain?" he mumbled looking at his feet. How the hell would that thought even come to my mind? The most average quirks can be used by villains. There's no such thing as a villainous quirk. And like I said earlier, you don't seem like a bad guy, Toshi. Toshi. Yup, Toshi. Well, thanks. That really means a lot. Izuku. I smiled as I stood up straight getting off the wall. We talked a bit about the exams and ended up exchanging numbers before I spotted Kachan coming out of the recovery tent and left. "I'll see you in Ua, Toshi," I called as I ran to Kachan. "Hey Izu, how'd your exam go?" Kachan started but I quickly interrupted him by grabbing his wrists. "How the hell did you overuse your quirk enough to need to go to Recovery Girl?" I looked at his fully healed arms. "Whoa, she fully healed you? That's so cool. Of course, you'd be interested in her quirk Izu." He rolled his eyes at me as he allowed me to keep looking at his arms. Eventually, we began walking back talking about how we figured we both passed. AWWH. Did my little Izu make a friend? Kachan teased as he ruffled my hair. "Cut it out, Kachan. Geez, sometimes you act like you're my mom." I swatted his hand away and punched his arm playfully. Yeah, now, don't you have a shift at the cafe starting soon or?" He nudged me. "Oh shit, I totally forgot. I'll talk to you tonight. Bye Kachan." I yelled as I ran off to go to my job, hoping I wouldn't be late. Izuku POV is defined as hollow left pointing small triangle first day of school filled right pointing small triangle. Bye mom. I waved from the doorway of my mom's room as I shoved a banana into my mouth. Oh Zuzu, I'm so proud of you. Have a great first day. She beamed at me as I left the house and saw Kachan waiting for me. Took you long enough, nerd, Kachan scoffed with his signature smirk. You call me a nerd even when you got 92% on your exam and go to bed at 8:30 every day. Again with the sleep schedule. And you got 100% on your exams, so yes, you are a nerd. You have reading glasses. Shut up. We kept teasing each other as we boarded the train and got quite a few stares. When we finally got to Ua, it was just as breathtaking as the first time. I glanced around the flood of students until my eyes landed on purple hair off to the side. I grabbed Kachan's wrist and brought him over. Toshi, I called, watching as the insomniac went from uncomfortable and nervous, to relaxed and grateful. Oh, hey Izuku, who's this? He asked, pointing to the confused Bakugo. Oh, this is Katsuki Bakugo. He's the friend I was waiting for at the exams. How did you do by the way? I asked as Kachan went. TCH, trying to act like he didn't care even though I could tell he was curious about my friend. Well, since you can't really brainwash robots, I failed the hero course exams, but I got into general studies. He looked upset and I could tell he was beating himself up for it. That's great. Kachan and Toshi both gave me very confused looks, clearly not understanding what I meant. I guess it's not good you didn't get in, but now we can both show off at the sports festival. Oh, I guess that is pretty good, Kachan said, understanding what I mean. Huh, what about the sports festival? Shinso scrunched his eyebrows up, still not understanding. If you do well at the sports festival, you can get transferred to the hero course. I went into the support course to sharpen my skills and so that I can use my inventions at the sports festival and totally kick ass and show off my great skills and then get transferred into the hero course. This way I'll also get recognized by hero agencies. I looked at Hitoshi's face to see the gears in his head trying to spin and take in the information I just rambled out. Izu, you were muttering again. The poor guy couldn't keep up with you. Kachan sighed as he ran a hand down his face and turned to Toshi. Basically, he went into the support course so he can use his inventions at the sports festival and then get transferred. Oh, was all Toshi had to say. Well, anyway, let's all get going or else we're going to be late for our first day. My mom would totally flip out on me. I turned and we started walking into the building. We continued walking together until we had to split ways. I stopped in front of my classroom door. Well, time to start my first day at Ua. Izu, are you almost done? I heard Kachan's voice from the doorway as I kept working on my project. Hearing him, I whipped around with a giddy grin on my face. Kachan, look, I can use all these materials for free. And look at all the high-end shit they have. I yelled as I held up a sphere the size of a golf ball. Calm down Izu. What the hell is that? As soon as he asked, another voice joined the conversation. It's our baby. May came out from around the corner with a bunch of scrap pieces of metal. Throughout the day, me and May had bonded over our shared passion for inventing gadgets and had been bouncing ideas off of each other all day. Baby, what the fuck? Who the hell are you? Kachan asked, looking extremely confused. I told you that if you keep calling inventions babies, you're going to confuse people and some dumbass will think we actually fucked. I sighed as May just giggled and Kachan continued to look between the two of us. I'm May Hatsume. Nice to meet you. You're Kachan, right? Hero in training. May placed the medal down and started walking over to Kachan. My name's Katsuki Bakugo. Only Izu can call me that. How the hell did you know I was a he? What the hell? Kachan's face grew flustered as May started touching him all over. Izuku told me about you. Very muscly as expected, she observed. Get the hell off me you crazy bitch. He yelled as he continued to fail to get her off. Geez lady, get off, I'm gay. I fell to the ground laughing as Kachan tried to get her off by playing the gay card. Stop laughing dumbass, Kachan yelled as he kept pushing May away. I'm sorry. I got out between wheezing breaths as I clutched my stomach. What did I just walk into? A tired voice inquired as the tired body that it belonged to walked in. Oh, You must be Toshi. You want to be a hero too, right? Mei asked, letting Kachan go in favor of studying her new victim. My name's Hitoshi Shinso. Shinso corrected, confused. Whatever you do, don't answer her question, Kachan warned as he walked over to stand over my recovering body with a glare, and stop laughing Izu. Why? I do plan on getting into the hero course to become a hero, so why shouldn't I tell he? Tashi's sentence suddenly stopped as Mei began feeling him out as well, and he went as rigid as a board. If you plan on being a hero, you're probably going to have to bulk up a bit more. Can't rely on your quirk forever. Of course, I can make plenty of babies to help you, Mei suggested as I began rolling around from seeing Hitoshi completely freeze up. Mei, you are officially in my top 5 favorite people, I said, wiping tears off my face. Izuku Pav is defined as. I'm so bored, I complained as I watched my tiny city go about its usual programmed business. How are you bored? You made a whole miniature city with AI citizens in only a few days. How did you even do it so fast? Did you work on it at home? My teacher, the pro hero powerloader, asked as he studied all the small citizens I made walk around. No, I have different projects I work on at home, I sighed as I finished painting another character's face. Well, pretty soon the hero course will be asking for modifications and accessories for their costumes. I'll make sure to give you lots of projects for that, he reassured me. But I already am, I mumbled. My friend keeps asking about the smallest thing on his costume and suggesting the strangest additions. Well, if you want an idea, you can try making your city put on a play or make a movie from it. He shrugged. Whoa, that's such a good idea. I gotta start writing this. See, this is why you're a good teacher, you give me ideas, I smiled as I ran over to my computer to start writing a script. Hey Izuku, can you help me out with something? I need to test my babies, Mei said, bouncing over to me. Why do you need my help? Do it yourself, I said as I continued to type away at my computer. I can't do it myself and you're the only person I trust to thoroughly test my precious babies. Please Izuku, she begged. Fine, what do you need me to do? I turned away from my computer and leaned back in my chair. On Friday I need you to take some of my babies to the USJ to test out some of the rescuing ones and also to test the weathering factors. Don't worry, I'll have all of them ready and packed for you. How the hell am I going to get to the USJ? Class 1A is going to be doing training there, so you can just hitch a ride with them, she explained as she patted my back. Thanks Izuku. As she ran back over to her designated corner I sighed and looked at Powerloader. What did I just agree to? I'd just like to say that I am not connected to any of the extras in my class, so don't judge me based on them, Kachan announced as he munched on his curry. You say that, but you are connected if you're in the same class, Toshi argued. What did you just say, eyebags? Kachan stood up and put his foot on the table as he glared at Shinso. Kachan, get the fuck off the table. We're trying to eat, I scolded. Immediately he sat back down, but continued to glare at Hitoshi. So, Pomeranian, tell me about those gauntlets on your hero costume. Hatsume giggled in excitement as she sat down with her mochi. What did you call me? Mei, you can't just eat mochi for lunch, I said as I grabbed a piece for myself. Hey, says the person who has been drinking coffee non-stop all day. What is this? Your 5th cup. Don't turn this to me. When we came to school, you had 3 cups. I saw you drink at least 2 since you got on campus. You have 4 empty cups in front of you right now and I saw you refilling a mug constantly in class. Holy shit, how many have you had? I think 15, I mumbled. 15, they all yelled. I've literally slept 4 hours in the past 4 days and have only had 3 cups, Toshi said, not helping me at all. You probably are spending your whole paycheck on the coffee you drink at the cafe instead of working, Kachan said as he stole my last coffee cup. You work at a cafe? Hatsume asked. Yeah, I've been working there for about 6 months now, I said as I reached for my coffee that Kachan held away from me. Don't change the subject. You need to slow down on the coffee, Kachan yelled, pouring out my coffee into the garbage. The fact that I'm agreeing with him says a lot, Shinso added while rolling his eyes. Okay, first of all, if anything, you guys are the ones changing the subject. We were talking about the USJ before. I pouted, crossing my arms. Yeah, those extras are annoying as fuck. Although, I'm pretty sure you'll run a field day with all their quirks. Man, sometimes I wonder why I didn't just go into the hero course instead. I've finished my miniature city already and there's barely anything to do. Maybe after the USJ people will start requesting upgrades, I sighed. Don't say that, Izuku. Not everyone is as freakishly fast as you at making things. Mei criticized. You made a whole miniature city in 3 days. Toshi asked with his eyebrows raised. Yeah, it was pretty simple. The hardest thing was probably decorating the AI citizens to make them all unique. I just kept jotting down things about people coming into the cafe and referencing them. I laid my head on the table remembering all the weird looks I got for staring. I've always wondered, how long have you been inventing? Kachan asked as he finished his curry. I don't know. Who the hell marks down on their calendar the day they start making random shit in their free time? I know that I started to make more serious stuff around 11. I mumbled into the table as I already started missing my coffee. What about you, Mei? Tashi's question was cut off as a shrieking alarm started going off, making me jump out of my chair and fall on my ass. What the hell is that alarm for? Kachan frantically looked around as he stood up. Someone got through the UA barrier. This hasn't happened before, a random upperclassman informed us as he ran out of the cafeteria. What? Kachan, Mei, and Toshi all yelled. They all started heading out as well as I stood up and looked out the window. Reporters. What the hell? I whispered to myself. Izu, what are you doing? Kachan yelled as he ran up to me. I didn't answer, instead just pointing out at the crowd and teachers. Those motherfuckers, he murmured. Why are they here? I asked, confused as I watched Present Mike and Eraserhead try to hold them back. Probably for All Might, he whispered almost like he didn't want me to hear. Which he probably didn't. All Might's here, I asked. Yeah, he's one of my heroic teachers. He ran a hand through his hair and blew out a breath. That bitch isn't worth all this trouble. He attracted all these reporters, making everyone go into a panic. How the hell did they even get in? I began muttering different theories as Kachan just watched me. Wait, the gate, it's disintegrated. What kind of reporter has a disintegrating quirk? Izuku Pav is defined as hollow left pointing small triangle, USJ Dave filled right pointing small triangle. So, this is your class? I asked as I walked up to a crowd of people in a bus with Kachan by my side. Yup, he sighed, popping the P. I felt underdressed being in a hoodie and cargo pants filled with tools while everyone else was in their hero costumes, even Kachan. Is Glasses aware this is a different kind of bus? Also, he didn't include me in the seating plan. That's hurtful. I faked getting stabbed in the heart as I dramatically fell to my knees. Ah, you must be problem child. I don't really care too much that you're tagging along, just be careful of our training. We don't need any malfunctions or injuries for either parties, a tired-looking man with a scarf said. Holy shit, Kachan, you didn't tell me fucking Eraserhead was your teacher. I yelled, shaking his shoulders. Of course you know him. He mumbled as he squirmed out of my grip. Whoa, Bakubro is letting someone touch and talk to him and isn't freaking out. A boy with red spiky hair and sharp teeth asked as he walked over. Bakubro? I asked, tilting my head. Whoa, really? I gotta see this. Another boy with blonde hair and a black lightning bolt said as he walked over. He was followed by a boy with black hair and weird elbows and a pink girl with horns. Shut the hell up, Kachan yelled. AWWH, did my little Kachan make some friends? I mocked as I ruffled his hair, remembering how he teased me after I told him about Toshi. All he did was growl at me as he let me ruffle his hair. I know that secretly he likes it. Whoa, he actually is, the black-haired boy said as his jaw dropped. Kachan, the pink girl said with a mischievous smile. Don't fucking call me that, Pinky. He said, straightening back up, making my hand fall as I giggled. Excuse me, my apologies for interrupting your conversation, but, as class president, I must ask who you are, a tall boy demanded as he moved his arm in chopping motions. Geez, who shoved that stick up your ass? Or were you just born with it? I deadpanned. The four new people began laughing as Kachan gave me an approving smile. Holy shit, he can smile too, the pink girl yelled as she laughed. I would appreciate it if you refrain from such vulgar language. We go to a prestigious school and should work to uphold its image. He said as he kept swinging his arms. Born with it, got it, I said as I crossed my arms. The boy took a step back and put his hand over his chest like he had just been struck. How rude. Are you even a UA student? Why are you here? He asked. Yes, I am a UA student. Also, I'm here to test out some of my friend's inventions. Before you ask, yes, I do have permission, I was just talking to Shota. When were you on a first-name basis with Mr. Aizawa and how did you know his first name? The redhead asked with a cocked eyebrow. Oh, I don't think I am. And, for how I know, that's for me to know and you to never find out, I winked. Okay, I officially like you. You made Bakugo go soft and your first words to Iida were basically the exact same as his. Plus, you got a secretive side and are pretty cute. The pink girl said. Back off Pinky. Kachan screamed. Oh, I'm Eijiro Kirishima by the way. You seem really manly, the sharp teeth guy said sticking his hand out for a shake which I complied to. Honta Siro. Mina Ashido. But you can call me Mina, she winked at me and Kachan kept yelling at her. I'm Denki Kaminari. It's nice meeting you guys. I'm Izuku from the support course, although I plan to get transferred here pretty soon, I chuckled. What do you mean? Siro asked. You'll see, I winked as I started walking towards the bus with Kachan. You just love fucking with people's minds, don't you? Kachan laughed. Hell yeah, I do. Yeah, but Bakugo's always angry, so he'll never be that popular, a frog-looking girl Suyu said, making me double over laughing as I sat beside Kachan. What was that? You were so dead, he seethed as he stood up. There, see, it's like she's just asking for Kachan to get mad. You know, we basically just met you, so it's kinda telling that we already know that your personality is flaming crap mixed with garbage, Denki shrugged. I was now gripping my side falling onto Kachan's empty seat laughing as he yelled at everyone. Unfortunately for me, the ground probably would have been a better spot to fall onto, because the fuming Kachan didn't notice me laying on his seat and sat on my face. Kachan, get your fucking ass off my face, I yelled, throwing him off of me into the aisle. Why the hell were you laying on my seat? He yelled from the ground. Why the hell did you sit down without looking to see me, jackass? How the fuck is this my fault? He asked, walking back over to the seat. Oh hell no, you are not sitting beside me anymore, I said, putting my legs on his seat so he couldn't sit down. The hell, what are you going to do about it? He asked, starting to move my legs. This, I leaned over the seat and poked his pressure point on his leg making him fall on his ass and hitting his face on the seat. I once again began laughing. What the hell, you said you'd stop doing that you damn nerd. At this point almost the whole class had started watching us and were laughing at how Kachan completely bit it. I even saw Shota with a small smile at the front. Alright, everyone shut up, we're here, Shota said, triggering Iida to go on a rant about how to get off the bus that everyone ignored. When we got off the bus, we were greeted by a pro hero in an astronaut-like suit. Welcome to the unforeseen simulation joint. Izuku Pav is defined as. As we walked into the large dome building, I was awestruck by just how big it was. There were different terrains ranging from landslides, earthquakes, floods, fur. I quickly looked away from that area as I felt a shiver run down my spine. I continued to marvel at the different areas as 13 lectured 1A on responsible quirk use. Of course, I don't need to pay attention to that, I don't have a quirk to misuse. Hey, Izu, you okay? Kachan leaned down and whispered beside me with concern lacing his voice. His face was still in his public scowl that he wears whenever he isn't at home or alone with me, but his eyes were softened as we made eye contact. Yeah, I'm good. I don't think I need to test anything over there, so I should be fine. By the way, are there any quirks I should avoid? I asked, looking around the class. Other than mine, there's that half-and-half bastard who has half ice half fire, but he doesn't seem to use his fire side. The only other I can think of is maybe glasses with his engines, but there's only flames when he does a big, flashy move. Looks like someone has been doing their homework on their new classmates, I giggled, putting my hand over my mouth to muffle the noise. Shut up, he hissed, why are you even still here? You don't need to listen to this lecture, go play with your toys. Oh yeah, I'll see you later. I did a quick pat on his shoulder and began walking over to the flood zone. I walked past the fountain. Almost as soon as I passed it, a cold chill ran down my spine. On instinct, I turned around to see what it was. There, only 2 meters away from me, a weird purple cloud began to form and expand. It blocked out my view of what was happening and I could barely see a student point over and Shota prepare his capture scarf. Yeah, this can't be good. I watched as Shota jumped down and 13 started yelling at students. Next thing I knew, the purple mist vanished revealing at least 100 villains, a fighting Shota, a class being surrounded by the warp gates, and a really crusty looking guy with a bunch of hands beside some sort of bird monster thing. Well, this is convenient. I realized I hadn't been noticed yet, but it was only a matter of time before a villain turned and saw me. I quickly pulled out a small remote and clicked one of the buttons. When I looked back down at myself, I was completely invisible, even my clothes. Invisible. Cloak. Working. I took out a small box and grabbed the 2 sides. I hid it behind the fountain and stretched it out, expanding it into a suitcase full of inventions. Compressible suitcase. Working. I realized I had no idea what I was doing and was a reckless idiot as I grabbed my Eskrima sticks. I guess it's a good thing I decided to come and test them out too. I used my remote and turned my sticks invisible as well and compressed the suitcase again. I looked back out to assess the situation. Looks like Erasure is totally kicking ass, but his stamina won't last long enough. The students are scattered around but a few are with an injured 13 at the front. Oh, look at that, Iida just booked it out here, probably to get help. I stopped my train of thought when the warp gate came back and appeared near the crusty guy and bird thing. They began to talk, basically spilling their entire plan. So, basically, they came to kill Asmite, but he isn't here. And they made this bird thing called Nomu that is supposed to kill him. Seems like this crusty guy is the leader, but the Nomu thing is the powerhouse and the warp guy, Kurogiri, could be troublesome with his quirk. So, who the hell do I attack first? There is no guarantee this cloak will hold up and if it will actually help me as much as I want, but, what other option do I have? I slowly and quietly stand up and start walking over. This feels so weird that I'm just walking up behind them and they can't see me. Making sure not to make a single sound, I take a few steps back, a deep breath, and start soundlessly running up to them. I reel my arms up and back and jump in the air. Right before I land on Nomu's shoulders, I jab my Eskrima sticks into its exposed brain and electrocute the shit out of it. The creature makes an ear-shattering shriek that quickly gets the 2 others' attention. What the hell? What's wrong with it? The crusty guy asks as he begins scratching his neck. Once the sticks are both out of power, I jump off, scooping as much brain with me as possible. I quickly click the buttons to speed up the charging rate as it soaks up the sun. I soundlessly run back over to the fountain as the Nomu falls to the ground, limp. What the hell is wrong with Nomu? Kurogiri, what the hell happened? He screamed with a voice that sounded as dry as his skin. He really needs some water, lotion, and chapstick. Tamura, please, calm yourself, the warp man said. D-I-E-E. A loud, familiar voice rang out followed by the pops of pre-explosions. I quickly looked away from Kachan as he tackled the warp man to the ground. I quickly recovered and ran toward Tamura and jabbed his kidneys with my Eskrima sticks and shocked him at half power, not wanting to kill him. He screamed as the electricity coursed through his veins. When the power was half out, I pulled away and let him fall down to the ground. I looked around the USJ to see Erasure finishing up the last few villains with a few students while the others gathered at the entrance. Where the hell are you, Izu? Kachan asked as he looked around for me. Yo, Bakugo. That takedown was totally awesome. Kaminari yelled as he started running over. Oh, sorry, I giggled as I turned my invisible cloak off. Forgot about this. Kaminari shrieked seeing me randomly appear, but quickly recovered as he smiled. Whoa, Izuku, was that you who took down those 2 villains? He asked with stars basically in his eyes. You bet your ass he was, Kachan smirked, making me fidget from the praise. Is your quirk like invisibility? Wait, no, it has to be some sort of electrocution quirk. Then how were you invisible? Wait, do you have 2 quirks? He gaped. I wish. No. I just used some of my inventions I was going to test here, no quirk needed. I mumbled the last part. Stop looking so embarrassed, Izu. You were totally badass, Kachan said as he shifted on the mist man. You were even cooler than you were at the sludge incident, he chuckled. Wait, sludge incident, like the one a few months back that All Might took care of. I didn't know there were any civilians there, Kaminari said, stroking his chin as he tried to remember. That asshat didn't do shit, Kachan scoffed. That was all Izu's doing, he just came at the end and took the credit and was a total bitch to us. What, All Might did that? Kaminari asked with a frown coming across his face. Calm down, Kachan. I'm sure you give him enough hell when you're in his class for the both of us. I put a hand on his shoulder and he looked at me with a frown. I knew he wanted to argue, but he stopped himself in favor of apologizing. I'm sorry about using my quirk earlier. I didn't know you were here, because you were invisible, he mumbled towards me, trying and failing to keep his voice low enough so Kaminari didn't hear, although he was decent enough to give us a little privacy and take a few steps back. It's okay, I looked away fast enough to not see anything but the smoke after. Besides, I have to start to get over my fear if I want to work beside you and call you my equal. I shot him a big smile that he returned with a small one. Guys, look out, Kaminari yelled as a purple portal opened up under us. I quickly grabbed Kachan just as he started sinking and jumped back with him. Too bad, you two are rather interesting, I'm sure we'll be seeing each other again. Tell All Might we say hi, Kurogiri said as he dropped through the portal with Shigaraki and vanished. Well, fuck, Izuku Pav is defined as. Have no fear. Why? Because I am her. Shut up. You're late, dumbass. Kachan and I both yelled in unison at the obnoxious man. He looked around the building to see that all the villains were knocked out, and all the students were giving him disappointed looks. Well, it appears young Iida misread the situation and thought it was much more dangerous than it really was. He put his hand on my face and laughed obnoxiously as everyone just stared at him. I began to walk towards the others with Kaminari and Kachan. We walked past All Might, not even acknowledging him, which he did not seem to like. You there, I don't believe you're in this class. What are you doing here? Are you another evildoer? He suddenly grabbed my shoulder, pulling me back towards him. At this, I gave a sharp gasp, flashbacks momentarily flooding my senses as suddenly I was back at my apartment with him, until I got a grip on myself. I grabbed his wrist and flipped him over my shoulder onto the ground, successfully knocking the air out of him. Never touch me again, I said with my hair covering my eyes, not looking at him. I continued walking with Kachan by my side and surprisingly, Kaminari came too. Hey, you okay? You looked pissed at the guy. I get why after what you told me about him lying and all, but you looked seriously freaked out when he touched you, Kaminari said, looking at me curiously. Yeah, I'm fine, thanks, I shot him a small smile as I simmered down my anger and fear. That's good, okay, but, you looked so badass when you completely flipped him over like that. That was so cool, he squealed. To say I was shocked at his reaction was an understatement. I guess my face showed how I felt because Kachan started snickering beside me. I playfully punched his arm and scowled at him, which only caused him to laugh more. You guys act like you've known each other all your life, didn't you just meet today? Kaminari asked as he put his hands behind his head and we walked out of the USJ to get some fresh air. Well, we have, so, I said, really, I still can't believe seeing Bakugo freely talking to someone without totally flipping out. What's that supposed to mean, dunce face? Kachan yelled, not realizing he was proving his point. We kept talking about random things and making fun of Kachan while the police and ambulance came for anyone hurt. It felt like time just flew by before the sun started setting. Oh shit, do either of you know the time? I asked in a rush. After they both shook their heads, I asked a free officer and she told me it was 7:45. It's that late already, Kamienri asked. Fuck. I mumbled as I started walking through the crowd to get out. Where are you going, Izu? Kachan asked as he struggled to catch up with me. I have to go home, I said as I started panicking more. Besides, don't you have to go to bed soon? I tried to crack a joke to ease my panic, which failed. Izu, calm down, why do you need to get home so fast? He grabbed my wrist right as we made it out of the crowd. My mom is probably worried sick by now about me, I smoothly lied, although he looked like he only half bought it. Fine. He mumbled, letting me go. Thanks Kachan, I'll see you on Monday. Also, do you mind explaining that I left if they ask? Thanks, bye, I yelled as I was already running away. I have to hurry, I missed the train and need to give my mom her medication by 8. It's times like these that I'm really thankful about how much training I've done. There is no way any normal person could sprint across a whole city without stopping. As I finally started climbing up the stairs to our apartment, my lungs were screaming for air and my legs felt like boiled noodles. I scrambled to get my key in and ran through the door. I quickly ran to my mom's room to see her worriedly watching the news about the USJ incident. Zuzu, I was worried sick. Why are you so out of breath? You look like you ran a marathon. Are you okay? You said you were going to the USJ today too, right? She kept rambling questions as I breathed a sigh of relief to see her feeling normal. I walked over and grabbed a syringe and container. I began prepping it as I glanced at the clock seeing it was 8:10. I'm okay Mom, I was more worried about you. I lost track of time and missed the train so I had to run here. I chuckled a bit as I left out the fact that I took down 2 villains and one of them expressed an interest in me. I walked over with the prepared syringe as she moved her long green hair out of the way. I injected the medication into the nape of her neck, cringing internally. No matter how many times I do it, I will still never like it. Once I was done, I put the needle into the bin already filled with other needles and sat on my mom's bed. Want to see my miniature city movie I made at school? Izuku Pav is defined as hollow left pointing small triangle lunch on Monday filled right pointing small triangle. So the time has finally come for us to put you in your place and prove how much better we have become. And that we deserve to be heroes, working at the same pace. Are they always this dramatic? A confused Pikachu knockoff asked as he sat down at the table of 4. No, sometimes. Okay, yes, Mei confessed as she began to eat her mochi. We are not dramatic, we merely speak the truth. And if the truth is too much for you, then go eat a boot. What the hell, a boot? Shinso asked as he quirked an eyebrow at me and sat back down to slurp up his ramen. I'm sorry Toshi, we were on such a roll and I couldn't think of anything better to say that rhymed. I pouted as I shoved some pork into my mouth. I don't know, if someone told me to go eat a boot, I'd take mine off and shove it down their throat instead, Kachan commented as he stole some of my pork. Hey, if you want katsudon, you can make me some. I complained as I hid his chopsticks away when he went for more. Bakugo can cook, Mei asked with a mouth full of mochi. That's unexpected, Denki added. Why the hell are you looking at me like that? Kachan yelled as he stood up and started swinging his chopsticks around like he was going to hit someone. Unfortunately, he did, and that person was me. Ow, what the fuck? Sit down already and stop swinging your utensils around, jackass. I hissed as I pulled him down. Stop being so dramatic. You probably barely felt a thing. It was all absorbed by your hair, he snickered as he pulled me into a headlock and ruffled my hair. This is so weird, Kaminari breathed as he watched me and Kachan wrestle each other trying to stay seated. You get used to it, Shinso sighed as he began a conversation with the 3 remaining people. Once Kachan and I had calmed down, we went back to eating and joined in on their conversation. Yeah, Izuku told me that if we do good enough, we can get transferred into the hero course, Shinso explained as he finished his ramen. Whoa, so we can be classmates. Cool. Hey, Izuku, do you want to get transferred too? Yup, this is all a part of my evil plan to completely embarrass Kachan. First, I let him go to a different class to make sure everyone knows how he acts. Then, I suddenly get transferred in and totally kick his ass and show that he is truly a soft boy deep down. I smiled evilly as I continued to mutter about how I will treat Kachan. Shut the hell up nerd. Like I'd let you beat me. He crossed his arms and stared down at me. Just keep telling yourself that Katsuki. I'll prove I can beat you by winning the festival. I smiled and crossed my arms, mocking him. And what is up with you calling me a nerd? You're the one who goes to sleep at 8:30 and wears ready. Shut up. Oh hey Sparky. Did you get addicted to the chaos from lunch and come back for more? May asked as she opened the door after we heard a knock. I rolled on the floor around my miniature city until I was within eyeshot of Kaminari. Whoa, this is your guy's classroom. He breathed as he looked around at all the inventions. Nope, this is our workshop. The actual classroom is next door where everyone else is. They gave us our own room because we were too destructive and distracting for their taste, I said as I began to sit up. Is that a city? He asked as he walked over to me. Yup, built it last week. I'm working on adding a little spice to their settings so that it's more realistic. Whoa, he walked around looking at my carefully constructed structures and citizens. So, what brings you here, Sparky? May asks, getting impatient for the potential for a new project. Oh, yeah, I was wondering if you guys could make me something to help with my quirk. It's always all or nothing. Whenever I use it, it's hard to control, so I always end up brain dead and zapping people around me as well. Me and May made eye contact and walked towards each other. We both stuck out our fists. What are you guys? Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. We both yelled in unison. Ha, ha, I win. Sorry Izuku, looks like I get this one, maybe you'll get the next one. She smiled as she waved Denki over and walked towards her workbench. Okay, let's get started. You might want to sit down. So, you free to help me study right now? Dun's face could use some help too, Kachan asked as me and May met up with him and Denki with Shinso soon coming over. Nope, today's Monday. I got work, I said as I sipped the coffee from my thermos I always have on hand. You have a job? Kaminari asked. Oh yeah, I almost forgot about that, May said as she put her latest baby into her bag. Didn't you say it was at a cafe? Did they have good coffee? Shinso asked, intrigued by coffee. Of course it is, I'm the one making it. I crossed my arms and pretended to be insulted. Although, my boss has told me a few times to lower the caffeine amount. I mumbled. At this, Kachan completely burst out laughing. Knowing you, there's probably more coffee grounds than water. Shut up, Shota likes it. I punched his arm, not so playfully. Wait, Aizawa goes there? Denki asked. Yeah, he's a regular, he usually just sits in the corner with a laptop or papers. Although, he started bringing present mic around a few times. They usually just grade papers together, but I have seen them glance at each other and I swear they look like clueless teenagers. Of course you have gossip on our teacher's love life, Kachan rolled his eyes. Wait, I thought that Mr. Aizawa was Shinso's dad. Quote. 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 I mean, they do look similar, I mumbled. Now that you mention it, they do act similarly too, May added. Holy shit, Dun's face said something smart for once, Kachan breathed as he stared at Shinso. Thank you. Wait, guys, I'm not his son, Toshi said as he ran a hand down his face. Are you adopted? Maybe he saw you one day and thought, that kid looks way too similar to me, I need to adopt him and make him legally my child, now. I asked, doing a spot-on impression of Shota. Whoa, you sounded just like him. Denki said with eyes blown wide. Why thank you, I said with a smug grin. Okay, back to the important topic. Who wants to go to Izuku's work? Shinso asked, trying and succeeding in changing the subject. Sorry, gotta work on my babies. I'll see you guys tomorrow. May called as she walked away, already playing around with the wires again. And then there were 4. Shinso said in an ominous voice. I'm down, Denki said as he grabbed out his phone, supposedly telling his parents. You know, you've been working there for like 7 months and I've only gone like twice when you're working. I'll come, Kachan said. Okay, let's go then. My shift starts soon and it's close enough to walk. I gestured for them to follow as we walked the few blocks to the cafe. Third-person POV is defined as. So this is where the great Izuku works? Shinso asked as he sat down at a booth with 2 other boys. The cafe was rather small, but had a comforting feel. There were 6 booths and 3 tables. The whole cafe was lit up by the large windows covering the walls with streams of sunlight coming in. The whole color scheme of the cafe was pastel, matching the apron Izuku put on. Yup, I don't know why you guys wanted to come so bad. I'll be working, but if there aren't any orders I might be able to sit down for a bit here and there, see ya. The mess of green curls ran behind the counter into the staff room and then came out with a pastel visor on and started taking the orders of the few customers. It's actually pretty nice in here, Kaminari said as he looked around. Yeah, and Izu may make coffee stronger than All Might, but his other drinks are really good, Bakugo said as he looked at the small drink menu on the table. Nah, I gotta try this coffee first. I find it hard to believe that anyone can make coffee that strong, the insomniac smirked as he leaned back in his seat. Be my guest, eyebags, although I'm betting you'll need to order some cream and sugar after your first few sips, the ash blonde retorted as he crossed his arms. Wanna bet? $20. You're on. The two shook hands with smug looks on both their faces. Whoa, Shinso, look, your dad really does come here with Mike. Denki yelled as he stared at the door where two pro heroes came in. One of them looking slightly less dead inside than usual and another looking like he was having the time of his life. He's not my dad, Hitoshi said, although no one listened to him. While no one paid attention to his words, a loud blonde overheard his voice and started walking over. Hey there, little listeners, I didn't know you came here. Present Mike said, containing his quirk. This is our first time. But this guy said he comes here sometimes, Shinso replied, jabbing his thumb toward him and Denki and then Bakugo. Mike, stop bothering the kids. I come here for an escape from work, not a trap, Aizawa groaned as he slumped down in the booth beside them. Strange that he sat as close as possible after saying that. Oh, back for more coffee, Shota, a freckled boy said as he walked over to the two booths. Took you long enough, you damn nerd. Can you make my favorite? Katsuki ordered. Which one's your favorite? Kaminari asked as he studied the menu. Yeah, Kachan, why don't you tell everyone which is your favorite? Izuku teased with a mischievous smile. Really, Izu? Yup, can't make you a drink if I don't know which one it is, and it seems my memory isn't working right so I don't remember which one. He pretended to be deep in thought as he tapped his chin. Wow, fine, I'll get the rainbow unicorn sparkle, he mumbled. The what? Kaminari and Shinso both yelled out laughing. Shut the hell up, he made it for me the first time I came and didn't say what it was called. It's actually good. Katsuki tried to defend himself as he stood up and glared at the two laughing teens and snickering adults. The rest of the group ordered, and somehow all ended up sitting at the same booth. Here you guys go, and Toshi, I brought you some creamer, milk, and sugar, just in case. Izuku smiled as he placed the 5 drinks down. He then sat down with his own coffee. Thanks, problem child, Shota said as he began drinking the coffee. Sometimes your coffee is the only thing I wake up for. AWWH, Shota, has Mike rubbed off on you and made you cheesy? He teased. I swear, every morning when he wakes up and drinks his coffee, he looks so disappointed. Present Mike laughed. How would you know? Katsuki asked with a raised eyebrow. Shinso, I think you got another dad. Denki yelled after seeing their faces grow pink. What? Aizawa asked, staring at Kaminari. This is my life now. Hitoshi sighed as he gave up and just let Kaminari ramble about how they are related. He took a sip of his coffee and immediately choked on it. What the fuck? Holy shit, I've literally eaten plain coffee grounds before and this is stronger. How the fuck is that possible? He screeched as he reached for the cream. Giving up already, Bakugo said with a smug grin. Fuck you, Katsuki, I just want my coffee. Here, take my money, Hitoshi grumbled, passing over a $20 bill, which Bakugo snickered at. You guys finally moved in together? The greenhead asked as he continued drinking his own coffee, ignoring the conversation beside him. Yup, Mike yelled, putting his arm around Aizawa's shoulder, not noticing his faint blush. Sue, who confessed first? Izuku asked, wiggling his eyebrows as he watched Shota's face get redder. I did. Honestly, I thought he was going to reject me. But here we are. Mike laughed as he pulled Aizawa closer. Ooh, is someone blushing? Katsuki added as he joined the conversation. Whoa, I've never seen Mr. Aizawa get so red. He always has the same expression. Maybe I should come here more often. Denki said with a giddy smile. Looks like someone is having a case of gay panic, Shinso murmured as he added even more cream to his coffee. Why are you guys all teasing Sho? Mike asked, not helping his boyfriend's situation. You guys have nicknames. What does Shota call you? Izuku asked, propping his chin on his hand. Usually he calls me Mike or Zashi. Zashi. Yup. You know, because my name is Hizashi, so he just got lazy and dropped the hi. Oh. The greenette visibly tensed and got a glazed-over look on his face as his mind played through a loop of the name and random flashbacks played through. He watched through his younger eyes as he readied his quirk and throat began to glow and fire leaks past his lips, pouring onto his body. Izuku would scream and beg but all he ever did was laugh and Izuku was snapped out of his trance as he was shaken by the shoulders by an ash blonde who at some point came over to him. The freckled boy flinched back into reality and looked around to see everyone staring at him. Are you okay? The explosive teen asked softly as he looked at his panting friend. Yeah, I'm fine, sorry, I have to get back to work. He slowly stood up and walked into the staff room. What was that about? The electric boy asked with a confused and concerned look on his face. Yeah, you sure he's okay? Hitoshi questioned, staring at the door Izuku had walked through. Was he having a panic attack? Mike had a crease between his brows as he was unusually quiet. Hey, Bakugo, you there? The Kaminari asked as his friend stared down at the floor, deep in thought. Huh, he asked, snapping out. Oh, his shift is almost done, so I'm going to go talk to him. I'll see you guys at school tomorrow, he dismissed as he walked to the staff room. What was that about? Denki asked. Everyone else at the table wondered the same thing as they finished their drinks and left their money on the table. Is defined as Izuku Pav is defined as. I slid down the wall as soon as I walked in, trying to breathe and get my thoughts under control. I can't believe I'm freaking out this much over just hearing his name. I pulled my knees into my chest and hugged them as my mind continued its horror show. Flashback. I carefully crept out of Mom's room, being as quiet as I could. Today is Friday. I know there's no point trying to hide, he always finds me. I'm 9 years old now. Mom has started to get a little sick from all the stress. I'm worried about her. Every day she gets a little worse and I don't know what to do. My worried mind halted as I heard the door open and slam shut. I heard random grumblings, something about a bet. He started stomping towards the hallway that I was trying to walk through. Hearing him get closer, I began to panic and walk faster, but not fast enough. He grabbed the back of my shirt and pulled me down to the ground. I fell with a slight yelp as my back collided with the hard ground. Shut up. Why are you making so much noise? He snarled as he began kicking my gut. I scrunched up from the pain, curling into a ball to try and protect my stomach. He continued to kick my back and limbs, even my face. The pain throbbed through my body. Every beat my heart took would send out a new wave of pain. I quietly whimpered as he stepped on my head, twisting his shoe over my ear. I said shut up. His throat began to glow as he prepared his quirk. He let little dribbles of flames leak on my arms as they singed my skin. Suddenly, he opened his mouth, letting all the fire pour over my back, melting my clothes and letting it boil over my scorched skin. I tried biting my lip to stop my screams, but after 5 seconds of the constant burning, I let some slip out. My skin felt like it was melting off my body over and over again and sizzling over my insides. Flashback end. Is defined as Katsuki Pav is defined as. I walked into the staff room and looked around, making sure to close the door fully so no one would interrupt. In the corner of the room beside the door, Izuku was curled up in a ball gripping his hair and whimpering while rocking back and forth. This isn't good. I slowly walked over to him and crouched down a foot away. Izu. It's okay, he's not here. I slowly reached out and put my hand on his head and ruffled his hair. At first he flinched, but then stopped whimpering and slowed his rocking. You're safe Izu, I'm here for you. You're in the cafe, he's not here. I whispered sweet nothings into his ear as I scooted closer to him, wrapping him in a side hug. Kei-Kachan, he whispered out as he shifted and leaned into my shoulder. I'm scared. What if He comes back? I'll protect you. I'll make sure that bastard never lays another finger on you. You promise? I promise. He slowly calmed down after and fell asleep. I carefully took off his apron and visor and put him on my back. I walked out of the staff room to see the cafe empty with his boss behind the counter. She simply waved at us as I walked out. It was already 7, so I walked back to his apartment. When I got there almost an hour later, I took out his keys and went in. The house was quiet and a little messy. It looked like the kitchen was barely used and there was dust almost everywhere. I walked down the hall to where I knew his bedroom was. As I walked, I couldn't help but wonder how much had happened to Izuku in these walls. I walked past a bedroom with the door closed and figured Auntie Inko must be sleeping. The door to Izuku's room didn't have any hero merch on it, which was a little confusing, until I figured he probably got rid of all his All Might things after what he said. When I opened the door, I was shocked. His room had random projects and materials scattered all over the floor, creating piles at random corners. 3 of his 4 walls were completely covered in blueprints that were slowly leaking onto the last wall. He had an unfinished project on his work desk that did not look like something from school. I walked over to his bed and put him down. A small smile covering my face seeing a few pictures of us and his other friends on the wall. I looked at the pictures for a bit before I heard a weird beeping noise that sounded like an alarm. At the noise, Izuku started shifting around and opened his eyes. He yawned and rubbed his eyes as he sat up and then looked at me. "Oh, Kachan. Wait, what happened?" he asked, waking up fully. "You fell asleep at the cafe, so I brought you here. What's up with your room? Ever heard of cleaning?" I joked. He looked at me and then around his room, then at the alarm clock, then back at me. "Oh, what's up with the alarm?" He looked around the room with a contemplating look. Finally he sighed and told me to wait there while he did something. I waited in his room as I looked around. All the inventions he had seemed like they were the real deal, not just random things he made while bored. I walked over to his work desk and saw his notebook open with a bunch of notes. Kado. Untraceable attachment, signal jammer. Plug into anything and block out certain signals so it can't be traced. Silver, small. What the hell? You know, it's rude to snoop. Izuku sighed and he walked over to me. "What the hell is this?" I asked as I kept studying his notes. "Well, you see, I haven't exactly told you everything," he mumbled as he looked down at his feet. "What do you mean? What haven't you told me? What could he be hiding from me?" "Well, I think it'd be a bit easier to show you first. Come with me, and don't say anything, she's sleeping." He walked out of the room and I followed. We walked to the door that was closed and he opened it. There was a sleeping Inko surrounded by random inventions that seemed to bring her things. She was hooked up to an oxygen tank. Across the room from her bed, there was a box filled with used needles and a table with more packaged ones and bottles of medication. As I stood there staring, Izuku began to walk back out, closing the door with him. Once the door was closed, he started talking again. "When I was about 9, my mom started to get sick. I think it's from all the stress, but I'm not sure. Once I was 10 though, it got worse and she hasn't left that bed since. At first, it was like a flu, not too bad. She just always felt gross and couldn't really stand up. Then, one day when I was 11, I came home to blood everywhere. I'm pretty close to the pharmacist nearby, and he hooked me up with some medication I have to give her every day at 8 p.m. Unfortunately, nothing is free." He looked down as he started walking back to his room. "I can't believe he's had to go through all of this, and by himself too. The medication costs a fortune. I had the ingenious idea to start selling my inventions," he sighed sarcastically. "Since then, I have been using the money I make as Goldberg to pay for all the bills and food. Since I started working at the cafe, that has helped a lot." "You've had to pay for all the bills since you were 11? I asked. "Pretty much. I'm sorry I didn't tell you, I didn't know how to say it." "Izu," I said as we both sat on his bed, "don't apologize. I understand why you did all of this, but, is this safe? What kind of things are you making and for who?" "The things I make can range from a smartwatch to a fake eye to a silent gun. The people I make these for are usually repeat customers. It's pretty rare I get a new customer. They're not all bad, sure there are a few, but what other choice do you have?" "You're sure it's safe?" I asked hesitantly. "I have precautions I use, and I research my clients so I'm prepared. And it's the only way." "Yup." Izuku Pav is defined as Hollow left pointing small triangle at school filled right pointing small triangle. So, you ready to kick some ass? Shinso asked with a nervous smile. Hell yeah, I've been training for this all my life. I'm going to win the sports festival and completely show off my babies. May interrupted me as she plopped down at our table. I can't wait to show my babies to the world and get scouted by all the big shot companies. What do you mean? I thought we aren't allowed anything except our gym uniforms. A clueless Denki asked. That's only for hero course students since they get classes to train. Of course, I got Kachan who blabbers on and on about all of the things you guys do, so I'm basically taking it too. I laughed as I remembered Kachan talking about how they had to do partner training. What, Bakugo, did you tell him about all of our quirks too then? Kaminari asked with a mouth full of food. Of course I did, why wouldn't I? He asked as he smirked. Bakugo, how could you? You traitor. We were already goners before he knew. Denki threw his chopsticks down and ruffled his hair aggressively as he leaned back. If you ask me, it's only fair that I plan counter-attacks to your quirks in advance, I said as I crossed my arms. What do you mean? How is that fair? Hey, Izuku, you haven't even told us what your quirk is. I guess I always figured it had to do with being freakishly smart, Shinso commented, making me tense slightly. I haven't told you because there's nothing to say. I noticed Kachan gave me a worried look out of the corner of my eye. What do you mean? May asked, suddenly interested. Well, I don't have a quirk, I said matter-of-factly, but really my anxiety was creeping into my mind. What will they think of me now? Will they leave me? Will they start to bully me like all the others? You're quirkless, Denki asked with a tilt of his head. That's what he said, Dun's face. Kachan growled. I looked over at him and saw that he was already starting to get defensive. There was a short silence at our table until Shinso broke it. Man, and I thought I had it rough. I looked up to see him smiling at me as I felt my eyes begin to prick with tears. I guess that makes sense on why you want to use inventions at the sports festival, but from what I've seen, you'd probably be able to hold your own without any, May commented as she went back to her food. My eyes began to burn more at her words. Wait, if you don't have a quirk. Denki began staring at me intensely. Then back at the USJ you were even more badass. He yelled with a smile lighting up his face. Well, there goes my composure. I swiped at my eyes and let out a breathy laugh as I tried to not burst out sobbing. Whoa, why are you crying? Kaminari asked me with a concerned look replacing his smile. Sorry, this just means a lot, I kept wiping my face as I smiled at them. I looked at Kachan and saw him smiling too. Man, I can't even only imagine the shit you've been through, Hitoshi mumbled with a solemn look on his face. The smile on Kachan's face faltered, probably remembering what he did as well as my home life. Well, that's in the past now, I said, clapping my hands together. I can show everyone up at the sports festival tomorrow. Why the heck are you all here? A girl with a brown bob, Ochako Uraraka, yelled. Do you students have some sort of business with our class? Glasses, also known as Tenya Iida, asked. Why are you blocking our doorway? I won't let you hold us hostage. A weird grape midget, Minoru Mineta, screamed. They're scouting out the competition, idiots. We're the class that survived a real villain attack, they want to see us with their own eyes. Kachan walked up to the crowd and continued his mini-speech. At least now you know what a future pro looks like. Now move it extras. So this is Class 1A, I heard you guys were impressive, but you just sound like an ass. Is everyone in the hero course delusional or just you? What did you say, eyebags? What's the matter Katsuki? I'm just saying the truth after all. Hitoshi gave a smug grin as he walked to the front of the crowd blocking 1A's door. Geez Toshi, you're going to make poor little Kachan blow a fuse. Why do you always have to poke the bear? I sighed as I walked up next to him. I looked in the classroom and waved at Denki as Shinso and Kachan had a stare off. Hey, aren't you the kid that came with us to the USJ? Uraraka asked me. Yup, that's me. Hey, you're the cutie who made Bakugo laugh. Mina came rushing over with Shiro, Denki, and Kirishima close behind. Well, aren't you popular? Hitoshi chuckled as he watched me dodge a hug from the pink girl. Not by choice Toshi, not by choice. Aren't you the person who took down that monster and the other guy? A nonchalant voice asked from beside, shocking the class. Yeah, I answered awkwardly. I've been meaning to talk to you. Huh, you're Shoto Todoroki, right? I asked, trying to figure out why he'd want to talk to me. Yes, from an objective standpoint, I think it's fairly clear that I'm stronger than you. What the hell, icy hot? Kachan yelled. I put up my hand to silence him. I want to see where he's going with this. Just know that I will beat you. Hey, what's up with the declaration of war? Denki asked as Todoroki glared at me. He didn't say anything else, just walked past us and out of the classroom. Well, that was weird. Moving on, I said. It was pretty random that he said that, especially to me. Maybe he thinks I'm some strong powerhouse with 2 quirks too and feels threatened. The invisible cloak and Eskrima sticks may have confused him. Anyway, why are you even here? Is Goggles hiding nearby too or something? Kachan asked, looking around the dispersing crowd of students. You guessed it, you angry Pomeranian. May yelled, jumping out of nowhere. As class president, I must ask why you are all here. Iida demanded, approaching us with swinging arms. Hey guys, do you want to go to the cafe again today? I overheard Mr. Aizawa mumbling about needing good coffee, Denki suggested as he slung his bag over his shoulder. Sure, I don't have to work today, although maybe I could see if I could pick up a shift to get some extra money, that way I can finally buy myself new materials to build a coffee machine that is better at sifting the grounds, I muttered to myself as I started working out the bills in my head. Yeah, it can be my reward for winning the sports festival. Whoa, slow down Izu, you might want to hold off on that coffee machine. It'd be a little sad if it was your second place price, Kachan scoffed as he grinned at me. See, I told you he can smile. I heard Mina whisper to a floating uniform, Toru Hagekar. Yeah, Kachan. In case you haven't realized, going to sleep at 8:30 limits your training time by almost 8 hours. That means that added on to all the training we've done together, I have 8 hours a day more training than you, Sleeping Beauty. Why you two talk like the rest of us don't stand a chance. Don't forget, you're not the only ones who have been training, Shinso interrupted. Yeah, our class has been working extra hard to prepare for this. We're all ready, Shiro cheered. You extras don't stand a chance, Kachan said nonchalantly. What, Bakugo, why are you so rude? Mineta called out. If you guys think that I'm strong when we're training at school, you have no idea how much more I train at home. Besides, Izu is probably almost evenly matched to me. Don't lie, Kachan, I've beaten your ass plenty of times. Don't forget our bet. If I beat you, you owe me Katsuden, I reminded him. Yeah, and if I win you owe me those flash drives I know you have hidden somewhere in that mess you call a room. What flash drives? Denki asked curiously. That is irrelevant. Izuku POV is defined as hollow left pointing small triangle sports festival filled right pointing small triangle. Hey, make some noise all you sports fans. No matter where you were in the stadium, you could hear Present Mike's loud voice booming through the speakers. I stood outside the waiting rooms with Mei, Denki, Hitoshi, and Kachan. We all wished each other luck before heading to our tunnels. Let me hear you scream as our students make their way to the big stage. This first group are no strangers to the spotlight. You know them from withstanding a villain attack. The Hero Course students of Class 1A. Present Mike started announcing all the classes. Next up, General Studies Class C, D, and E. I watched as Hitoshi walked out. Support Classes F, G, and H. Me and Mei both walked out. I looked around at the giant roaring crowd as all the students walked out onto the field. I was wearing my gym uniform with a belt carrying all of my inventions I figured I'd need. I listened to the R-rated hero Midnight as she called Kachan up to the stage. He dramatically walked up as people started whispering. I'd just wanna say, I'm gonna win. Cue giant uproar from all the students. Not my fault, the rest of you are just stepping stones to my victory. He gave everyone a thumbs down as he walked off the stage with threats being thrown at him. Midnight continued to reveal that the first round would be an obstacle course. She explained the 4-kilometer track and said that as long as we don't leave the course, we're free to do whatever we want. Everyone immediately crowded around the entrance and waited for the buzzer. Begin. And we're off to a racing start. Now for some color commentary. How did you talk me into this? Aizawa sighed through the mic. What should we be paying attention to in the early stages of the race? The doorway. Yup, the doorway was a shit show. Everyone started pushing and shoving to get past each other when suddenly the air grew cold. This must be Todoroki's ice. Without thinking, I climbed onto the back of the nearest person, hearing loud protests, and watched as the ice trapped people's feet. You icy hot bastard, I heard Kachan scream from up ahead. Sorry about climbing you, I said to the fuming student I was latched onto. I climbed off and started running across the ice using the extra grip I added to my shoes. I ran, passing by Shinso with his group of mindless slaves and waved at him. Ooh, enemies that have shown up out of nowhere. I bet we're in for a treat here. I caught up to the crowd of students just in time to see Todoroki use his quirk to freeze the robots blocking his path and continue running, letting them fall back on us. That was a bit of a jerk move, but smart, I mumbled to myself. I began to run around the fallen robot and crowd of students. I ran towards what I heard some students call a three-pointer robot and jumped up onto its head. I opened up a panel and placed a small silver tag with a rabbit head onto the wires, causing it to stop moving. I grabbed out a small remote that I based off Iron Man's phone and started to control the robot while riding on its back. I cranked up the speed and started zooming past all the confused students. I saw Mei using some of her inventions and went over to her. Vroom vroom bitch, I deadpanned as I sped past her. What's this? It seems that a student has done something to one of the three-pointers and is somehow controlling it. I believe that is Izuku Midoriya from the support course, Class F, Aizawa informed. I physically cringed at the use of my last name as I continued to play around with the robot to make it more usable. For those of you who thought the first obstacle was easy, let's see how you feel about the second one. I heard Present Mike's voice ring out an introduction to the next obstacle as I screeched to a halt with my robot. I think I'll call him Robbie. I jumped off Robbie and started playing around with different parts, trying to quickly make him usable for the obstacle. Other contestants slowly started catching up and trying to go across the tight ropes. I overheard Mei bragging about her babies as I finally finished. I haven't tested it, but oh well. I climbed back onto Robbie's back and started him up again. He latched onto the ropes and began to slide across with ease and then continue on to the next one. I saw that not too far ahead, Kachan was still chasing after Todoroki, who was still in the lead. And now, we're finally approaching the last obstacle. Everyone had better tread carefully. You're stepping onto a minefield. A minefield? Seriously? Present Mike started to reassure everyone about how they aren't dangerous, only a small explosion, enough to knock you off your feet. As I approach the minefield, I see Kachan and Todoroki carefully walking around the mines. They look like such idiots, like hell I'm doing that. I got off of Robbie and started to move around some parts, moving metal to the bottom to add padding. By the time I finished, more people had started walking across and Kachan and Todoroki were almost at the end. I quickly jumped on and turned Robbie on. I then put him on full speed and darted through the minefield. Unfortunately, the mines set off faster than I thought, so if I slowed down in the slightest, I'd get blown up. I saw Kachan and Todoroki glance back and go wide-eyed when they saw me zipping through, leaving large explosions in my wake. Getting more motivation, they both suddenly started using their quirks and rushing to the finish line. As soon as I saw Kachan's quirk, I looked away and passed them. I got a weird alarm from my tablet as my only warning for Robbie suddenly stopping, flinging me a few meters forward. I quickly tucked and rolled and got up, as I had lost momentum. Kachan smirked at me as he ran past, Todoroki quickly passing him as they fought for first place. I started sprinting after them as soon as I stood up. I ran the last 80 meters as fast as I could and crossed in a matter of seconds. The first to make it back to the stadium is the first place winner. Shoto Todoroki is our champion. I saw Kachan start raging as he was announced second place, with me coming third. Kachan, I yelled as I ran over to him. Huh, oh. Hey Izu, good Joe, I interrupted him by whacking the back of his head as hard as I could. What the hell was that for? Stop sulking, you got basically a photo finish in second place. Now calm down and stop being such a bitch about it. You did really good. I crossed my arms as I talked and watched him go wide-eyed. Whoa, I don't think anyone else could ever talk to Bakugo like that and survive, let alone be left unscathed. Denki said as he walked over to us, panting from the race. Don't worry Denki, I trained my dog well. What the hell did you say you damn nerd? Hey, Izuku, was that you on the robot? You were totally zooming past everyone. How did you do that? Kaminari asked with glitter in his eyes. I just put a tag I made in it to hack into the controls and used my tablet, that I also made, to control it and reconstructed a few things when I got to different obstacles. Although I wish I could have tested them. Maybe then I would have made first place because it malfunctioned and I got launched out of nowhere. He just hacked the controls and changed a few things. You need to learn to dummy things down for this dunce and talk slower, Kachan huffed as he rephrased my words. I suddenly burst out in laughter as I pointed towards Shinso who was being carried by 4 of his mindless slaves. Denki soon joined me and doubled over laughing at him and Kachan chuckled, trying to cover his laugh as Hitoshi approached us with a smug grin. What? I asked if they could give me a hand and they said sure. Izuku Pav is defined as. Prepare yourselves. For this. Midnight yelled, revealing the second round. Cavalry battle. I'm terrible at those. Denki pouted as he saw what we were doing next. We listened to Midnight as she explained the rules and point-based system. Ooh. Poor Todoroki, everyone is going to be gunning for him. Aren't you glad you got second now? I asked Kachan as he stared at Shoto. Yeah, that icy hot bastard has it in for himself now, he scoffed, before his face morphed into a mischievous grin. But don't get the wrong idea. By the end, I'll have that headband. When we were told to start forming teams, I immediately joined up with Kachan and went to find the rest of our team. We ended up teaming up with Hitoshi and Denki, which was expected, and Mei ran off to join Todoroki. Somehow, I ended up as the rider with Kachan in front and Kaminari and Shinso in the back. You promise you guys won't drop me? I asked as Kachan lifted me up with a small yelp to prove his point. Calm down Izu, the amount of times I've carried you by myself without dropping you should reassure you. Besides, you're really light. Why are you walking around carrying Izuku so much? Shinso asked with a lifted eyebrow. Shut up, that's none of your business. Besides, we should be figuring out a strategy. I think the strategy is pretty simple really. We run around using Tashi's quirk to brainwash at least one of the team members, steal their headband in the confusion, and move on. I have a few inventions for you guys if we ever need to book it out of there, and Kachan and Denki will be backups and defense, I lazily explained. Honestly, it was the obvious way to go. I don't understand why everyone is looking at me like I said I have a twin growing in my back. You already planned all of that. Kaminari looked at me with his jaw slack. Yeah, I'm starting to wonder how this team would have worked out if I wasn't here. We went over a few different tactics and scenarios as I explained and handed out a few gadgets to each of them. As we were just finishing off, Midnight gave us the 1-minute warning and told us to get ready. Come on, everyone, get your hands in the air. It's time for an arena pumping battle royale. Let's get this party started. One final countdown before the game starts. You ready? I asked my team as I tightened my headband one more final time to make sure it didn't fall. Yeah, Kaminari yelled as he prepared himself, with Shinso nodding on my other side. 3. Are you sure about this Izu? Kachan quietly asked me as he glanced back at me with a worried look. 2. Don't worry Kachan, I'm prepared for this. I gave him a reassuring smile as I pointed at my right eye where I put a contact to make it unable to see fire. He nodded and turned back around. 1. Let's kick some ass boys. Begin. As expected, everyone immediately went after Todoroki's team. We charged towards him too, going with the crowd. As I predicted, he used his ice and tried to freeze everyone. Now, I called out to my team as they all clicked the same button on their remotes, making them begin to float up, carrying me with them. We were a little shaky at the start since it was their first time using the gadgets, but they quickly found a rhythm and started heading towards the nearest team, snatching their headband. I quickly tied all of them on and made sure they were all tight. I glanced up at the scoreboard to see we were in third. Wait, who's in second? Up, Denki screeched as they all went up higher, slightly uneven, but it was worth it as another team barely missed us. AWWH, too bad. We were so close too, a blond boy said from underneath us. What the hell? Kachan said as he tried to even us out in the air. What's the matter? Too scared to fight so you're going to hide in the air the whole time? He began mocking us as I glanced at Hitoshi. Seeing me, he nodded his head and looked back at the blonde below. Why the hell would we be scared of you? Shinso yelled back, making the boy smirk. Why don't you come down here and find OU? He suddenly stiffened and stopped talking. Monoma, what's wrong? A plain-looking brunette asked his teammate. Sadly for him, he got no response. Let's go, I said, keeping my voice low so the group below wouldn't hear us. They all nodded and quickly darted down to the distracted group. As we flew past them, Denki and I both reached out, snatching all of their headbands and zooming back up again as I tied them on. That was so easy, Kaminari cheered. Should I release him now? Hitoshi asked, glancing back at the still confused and shocked team. If you can, I think it'd be better to leave him like that for as long as possible so that they don't cause us any trouble. 2 minutes left, we got this in the bag, Denki said with a grin on his face. We still need to be on guard. Dunce face, you never know if anyone will come with a last-minute atta. Left, I yelled as a grappling hook machine came shooting at us from the ground. What was that? Shinso called as we regained our balance again. Looks like Todoroki just can't settle for first, I mumbled as I saw Todoroki, Yaoyorozu, Iida, and Mei start to fly up into the air to us, and of course Mei brought jetpacks and rocket boots too. Hey guys, look at all the babies I brought. Mei gave us all a shit-eating grin with her eyes blown wide as her team tried adjusting to being in the air. Get ready guys, we have no way of knowing which inventions Mei brought. Add in Yaoyorozu's quirk, Todoroki's ice, and Iida's speed, although I don't know how that'll work in the air. Yeah, things aren't looking too good, I mumbled as I began to try and form a plan. That's motivating, grumbled Shinso as he studied our opponents. 90-second, here they come, Denki warned as they began approaching us at rapid speed. Left, I yelled trying to get our team out of the way as they passed by us. If we stay in the air, Todoroki won't be able to use his quirk, neither will Iida, but still look out for them. Mei and Yaoyorozu are huge threats right now. Pointing out the obvious isn't going to help us beat that icy hot bastard. Kachan yelled as he glared daggers. Guys, they're coming back. Kaminari yelled. Why are you guys coming after us? You're already in first place. I think our best option is to try and avoid all their attacks. Shit. Go down, I yelled as Yaoyorozu threw some sort of sphere that looked a lot like my paralyzer grenade. Don't look at the ball. What? Why no? Dunce face. What the hell? Why isn't he moving? Kachan yelled as he looked over. That damn Mei gave my blueprints to Yaoyorozu. He'll be okay in 5 minutes, he's just paralyzed, but now we have to try and move with him. 45 seconds. We hovered a few meters above the ground, trying to regain our balance without Denki as suddenly we heard a loud shout. Recipro burst. Left, Kachan. Todoroki's team suddenly came rushing at us. Thank goodness he yelled out before he came, or else we'd be sitting at 0 points. I closed my left eye as Kachan let out a large explosion, covering us with smoke, helping us move faster, and knocking their team off. 10 seconds. What's wrong Iida? That all the juice you got? Shinso asked, taunting Iida after seeing how out of breath he was. You good Izu? Kachan asked, not looking away from Todoroki. Yeah, I'm good. 5, shit, up. We flew up, but Todoroki had the audacity to grab Denki's loose leg and drag us back down. You icy hot bastard. Kachan blew an explosion toward their team, but was blocked by a large shield, courtesy of Momo. 4. I grabbed a small disc from my pocket and threw it at Todoroki. It landed on his right arm and wrapped around, enabling his quirk on that limb. 3. Why can't I use my quirk? He mumbled, trying and failing to take off the bracelet. 2. Sorry Todoroki, looks like you're just going to have to settle with first. I shrugged as he lost his grip on Denki. He reached up as we shot up but stopped and pulled his hand back down. 1. Time's up, and with that the second round is officially over. Izuku Pav is defined as. Now for a lunch break before this afternoon's festivities. See ya. So, no offense to you, but, why the hell did you drag me into a random hallway? I'm pretty hungry so it'd be nice if this was quick. I said as I looked at Todoroki, who stood on the other side of the hallway from me. He just stared back at me, probably trying to intimidate me. I was overwhelmed. He started, and you almost made me break a promise I made to myself a long time ago. Does this have to do with me canceling your quirk? I already took off the bracelet. Your quirk should be working fine now. You almost forced me to use my left side today. If the timer didn't go off when it did, I probably would've. He took a breath as he continued. My father is the hero Endeavor. You must have heard of him, which means you're aware that he's the number 2 hero. Yeah, I've heard of that asshole before. He stared at me with a shocked look as he processed my words. I don't think he expected me to say that. My old man is ambitious. He aims for the top. He used his power to make a name for himself as a hero. He tried continuing, but I cut him off. Todoroki, look, I get that you have some sort of trauma. I pointed at my left eye as a reference to his scar, but I really don't see what this has to do with me. Throughout the sports festival today, you've been staying at the top, barely below me, without even using a quirk. If I can't completely surpass someone who doesn't use their quirk with only my right side and am forced to use my left, then I'll never be able to prove my father wrong. Wait. You're saying that me doing good, without a quirk, is pissing you off? I raised an eyebrow as I tried to understand where this conversation was going. In every memory of my mother, I only see her crying. I remember she called my left side unbearably, before she poured boiling water on my face. He continued, ignoring my question. Now both of my eyebrows went up, hearing him continue with his childhood trauma. The reason I picked a fight with you was to show my old man what I was capable of doing, without having to rely on his damn fire quirk. You see, I'm going to show him that I reject his power and I can take first place without using it. That's got to be one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. What? He asked as I deadpanned at him. So, just let me make sure I understand what you're saying. Basically, your dad is a dick and you think that by not using your fire, that you are showing him how you don't need him. I refuse to rely on his power, he stated, looking me straight in the eyes. No, I sighed as I crossed my arms. Todoroki, you seem like a smart guy, so why are you being so stupid? Excuse me, I share my life story with you and you take that bastard's side. He grit his teeth as he began to get angry at me. You idiot, I'd be more than dead before I side with an abusive parent, trust me. He furrowed his brows in confusion as I continued. All I'm saying is that he doesn't control your flames. It's not his power, it's your quirk, not his. His eyes went wide as he listened to me. I understand why you want to reject him and get him out of your life, but that doesn't mean you have to suffer too. Prove him that you can thrive on your own with your own powers. Quote. Thank you, I have never thought of it that way. Yup, I know, I help others more than I help myself. I chuckled at my own joke and saw a small smile crack his lips for the first time. What do you know? The half-and-half prince can smile. A slight blush spread across his cheeks at the praise, which shocked me. Looks like Shota isn't the only nonchalant guy who can go red. If you don't mind me asking, I noticed that whenever you introduce yourself you only say your given name. During the obstacle course, they announced you as Izuku Midoriya. Why don't you ever say your full name? I cringed at the use of my last name and took a deep breath, letting it out as a sigh. How very perceptive of you. I dragged my hand down my face, trying and failing at stalling. When I looked back at him he stood, patiently waiting for my answer. I don't like it. I tried. My great lying skills were met with a raised eyebrow. I think it sounds fine. There must be a different reason. Why does he have to be so subtly pushy? The only person I've ever told is Kachan, and I totally broke down during that. I guess it's only right that I share my sob story too, huh? I smiled to myself as I began to fidget with my hands. Well, for starters, the reason I haven't been using a quirk is because I'm quirkless. A sharp intake of breath was heard from across the hall as the boy must have realized how much of a dick he sounded like earlier. He probably just thought I was holding back, when really, I didn't have a quirk to use. I told him about how he didn't take the quirkless news well and even after he left, my mother was sick because of him. I finally looked up from my fiddling hands and stared at the shocked Todoroki. That's why when I introduce myself, I prefer to keep him out of it. There was a tense silence between the two of us as he processed what I said, and I calmed the roaring emotions inside of me. I had no idea you've been through so much. Compared to you no, don't even start with that. No one should ever compare their trauma with someone else's and think like that. You've been through hell too. Let's just leave it at that. I quickly shut down his comparison. So, I guess this makes us trauma brothers. I blinked as I stared at Todoroki's emotionless face until I burst out laughing. I think we'd probably be more like cousins. Wait, Endeavor's quirk is hell flames, and mine was fire breath. Does that mean? Izuku, are you my secret cousin? Todoroki's eyes widened slightly as you could practically see the gears turning in his head. Holy shit, maybe I am. Izuku Pav is defined as. Get those photo takers in the air. It's almost time for the last round. I looked around to see all the side games getting prepared until I spotted the 1A girls. What the hell? I mumbled to Kachan as I pointed over. Yeah, never lump me in with those extras, he said with a sigh. I think we all know who's responsible, a soothing and tired voice said from behind us. Just look at the way he's snickering with the grape dude. I looked over and sure enough, Denki was laughing beside Mineta as they were yelled at by Yaoyorozu. The 16 students from the top 4 teams will be digging it out one-on-one in a tournament-style fighting competition. I promise you're not gonna want to miss these epic match UPS. Come closer and draw lots to see who you're up against, Midnight called as everyone stepped up one by one to see who they were up against. I looked up at the matchups to see that Shinso was up first against a girl named Abara Shiozaki for 1B who has some sort of vine hair quirk. If he wins, he'll most likely go against Todoroki in the next round. And whoever wins that match, would go against me, if I win my first 2. I looked over and saw that my first opponent was Denki, how unfortunate for him. Then my next opponent would be either Iida or Mei. I continued to strategize as I planned my matches. Oi, Izu, we have to head up to the balcony so they can build the stage. Oh, yeah, sorry Kachan. We both started walking up and soon found Kaminari, Hitoshi, and Mei waiting for us in the stairway. Took you long enough. You almost missed Hitoshi, Hatsume yelled as soon as she spotted us. Like I care. Kachan scoffed even though I saw him give a nod for good luck to Shinso. Go kick some ass Toshi. Thanks Izuku, I'll see you guys after my victory, he waved and walked into his waiting room. So, which balcony are we going to go to? Because we have 3 to choose from after Shinso comes back, Denki commented, surprising everyone slightly with his smart questions. Let's go to 1A. Everyone in the support course judges us on our babies, they're no fun. No one even willingly helps me test my babies other than Izuku. Mei said enthusiastically as she started back up the stairs. Yeah, I wonder why. I rolled my eyes as I walked after her. You better beat that icy hot bastard so we can have a real fight, Kachan smirked as we neared his class. We spar all the time, what are you talking about? Yeah, but you never have that contact in, so now I can go all out and finally beat you. You've never beaten him, Denki asked, joining our conversation. Shut up dunce face, you'll lose in the first 10 seconds of your match. What contact? Mei asked as she leaned closer to my eyes. I don't see any. It's a special contact I made for the sports festival. I made sure to make them undetectable so you can't see them, even with your zoom quirk, I explained. Since when did you need glasses? Kaminari asked as he tilted his head. Have you not been listening? They're not for his eyesight, dumbass. Kachan calmed down. I swear, sometimes you get so overprotective, it's like you're trying to be my mom or something. What did they do? How did you make them? Why can't I see them? Is this the final product or just a prototype? Mei began spitting out questions about my contact like crazy until I put my hands up to silence her. It just makes it so I can't see fire but can still tell it's there. It's hard to explain unless you're wearing them. I scratched the back of my head as I tried to figure out how to word it. Why wouldn't you want to see fire? Kaminari asked and then shrunk back as Kachan glared daggers at him. Well, I sorta have a giant fear of fire. I mumbled as I looked down and laughed nervously. They both yelled, shocked. Shut the hell up, Kachan screamed, turning the few heads walking by. I never would have expected someone from the support course to have a fear of fire. Don't you blow up stuff all the time? Denki asked. I always make sure that everything is running smoothly, and unlike some people I make sure it's not flammable. It's more practical too, I said, side-eyeing Mei a bit. Oops, was all she had to say. Not to be nosy, but why are you scared of fire? Denki asked, triggering Kachan to tell him to mind his own business. Izuku, an emotionless voice came from behind me before I could figure out how to reply to Kaminari. I turned around and was shocked to see Todoroki. Oh, hey Shoto, I said as the other three turned to see the newcomer. You better win your first 2 matches so we can fight, he deadpanned. I sure as hell wasn't planning on losing. After all, I'm going to win the whole sports festival. Hey, you guys make it sound like I won't put up any fight. Kaminari pouted as I smirked at Shoto. No offense Denki, but I have at least 10 different ways I can beat you in the first 10 seconds of our match, I said as I looked over at his insulted face. Am I that predictable? It's not that you're predictable, it's more I'm just really good at planning ahead. I tried comforting him as he started sulking. Hey icy hot, you better use that left side of yours. If you're not going to give it your all, don't even bother participating. If there is even the slightest chance you can beat Izu, just know that you won't be getting first. Stop intimidating him, Kachan. Let's go and watch Tashi's match, it's about to start, I said as I started walking out to the balcony with Mei, Denki, Kachan and Shoto close behind. Izuku Pav is defined as. Yes Toshi, I yelled as I ran up to Shinso and hugged him after his match. You did so good, that looked so badass, you finished it so quickly. Thanks Izuku, now can you get off me, I can't breathe. Oh, yeah, sorry. Here, as a small prize for winning, I pulled a random cup of my famous coffee. Don't worry, I made sure to put a shitload of creamer in for you. Thanks. No hard feelings Denki, but, I gotta win, I said as I shook hands with Kaminari. He had a wavering smile on his face, but a determined look in his eyes. Ready boys, Midnight called. We both nodded and she cracked her whip. Begin. Instantly, Kaminari reached down and sent out a shock of electricity. I quickly pulled out 2 metal toothpicks. I pricked my fingers on them and they expanded into lightning rods that I threw beside him. All of the electricity from his blast was attracted to the rods until he had nothing left and was left brain dead. Kami, I told you to not use all of your power in one move right away, I sighed as I walked over and dragged him out of bounds. The winner is Izuku Midoriya from the support course. Midnight cheered. Hey Nimari, do you mind just calling me Izuku? Drop the last name, I asked as I started pulling Denki off the stage. Oh, yeah, sure thing. I walked to Recovery Girl's room and dropped Denki off before going back to the balcony. Shoto had won his fight against Zero, which was the obvious outcome. Mei was talking about how she's just going to use Iida to market her babies, and then forfeit. That means that I'll be going against Iida next. Good job Izuku, Hitoshi congratulated me as he sipped his coffee. Where did those rods come from? Shoto asked me as he watched Iida and Hatsume walk out. My pocket, I deadpanned. You totally kicked that knockoff Pikachu's ass. Kachan barked as I sat down beside him, pulling a random coffee cup out of nowhere. We started watching the match, but after the first 5 minutes of advertisement, we just started talking with Denki joining us halfway through. Surprisingly, Todoroki added his own comments in our conversations. The rounds continued until it was finally Kachan's turn. He was against Uraraka who had a gravity quirk. I got pretty riled up when the crowd started booing him for beating up a girl. He wasn't even actually going all out on her. Why should he have to hold back just because she's a girl? Villains aren't going to. Soon enough, it was Hitoshi and Shoto's match. I felt pretty bad for Shinso when Todoroki just didn't reply to him after picking up on what his quirk is. I felt disappointed when I saw that Shoto didn't use his fire, but at the same time, he didn't really need to in the match. Well, I'm off, I said as I walked out of the room and down to the waiting room. I got a few good lucks from my friends and soon enough I was called out to the field. Good luck Iida, and, no hard feelings, I smirked as I put on a pair of glasses that immediately started up. I wish you luck as well, he yelled, chopping his arms as he powered up his engines. Ready, Begin. Midnight cracked her whip and Iida immediately shot forward. I decided to show off a bit and jump up and over him. He screeched to a halt just before going out of bounds and turned around only for me to land right on him and pin him down. Make this a bit easier for the both of us and forfeit. It'd be pretty embarrassing for me to have to flip you out when you're already pinned, I sighed as I watched him squirm under my tight grip until he finally gave up. I give up. I got off of him and helped him up. We began walking back, congratulating each other until he had to leave to get a phone call. Holy shit, Izuku, you looked like you flew when you jumped. I was welcomed into the balcony with a smiling Denki, smirking Kachan, coffee-drinking Hitoshi, blabbering Mei, monotone Shoto, and shocked 1A class. You really don't believe in giving the audience a show, do you? Shinso raised an eyebrow at me. Sometimes I feel like he'll take any opportunity to raise his eyebrows. Of course he doesn't. He's always been practical, Kachan huffed as he crossed his arms. Yeah, well now I'm totally fucked. I ran a hand through my hair as I smiled at Todoroki. Shockingly, he smiled back. You looked so cool out there. When you pinned him down, you looked so hot. Mina yelled as she ran over to me. Back off, Pinky. Get your shameless ass away from him. Kachan screeched as he stood up on his chair. Ooh, someone jealous? Denki asked as the room grew dead silent, until I burst out laughing. You got a fucking death wish, dunce face. Kachan growled as he stepped closer with Denki running behind me. Damn, the Pikachu has some balls saying that right to his face. Hitoshi said, clutching his stomach from laughing. Want to say that again, eyebags? I'm not going to lie, Katsuki, not Mei too, but your nicknames are pretty basic. Goggles, eyebags, Pinky, dunce face, glasses, shitty hair, are you just naming things about our appearance? At least Izuku's is related to his name, even if you just cut out half. I don't care what you think of what I call you. I just picked the first thing I first noticed about you. He yelled as he turned to Hatsume. And Izu is different, he crossed his arms and sat back down. I mean, it's not just him. Izuku either shortens your name or calls you by your first name out of nowhere, Shinso pointed out. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone calls me by my first name, so why can't I do the same? I argued as I stood up off the floor and walked over to sit by my friends. We don't really have a choice, you've never told us your last name, Kaminari pointed out. I swear, he can be smart at the worst times. Weren't you announced as like Midoriya? Midori? Mei asked as she tried to remember. Midoriya, Shoto corrected, making me cringe. Don't call me that, I said as I looked over at Todoroki, who just shrugged. I told you he has a secretive side. Mina called as she walked out of the room to head to her match. Why don't you want us calling you that? Denki asked with a head tilt. I don't really have the best relationship with that side of my family. I didn't want to lie to them, but I didn't feel like recounting my life story for a second time today, surrounded by a class one barely know. Luckily for me, they dropped the subject with a few questionable looks and continued watching. Soon enough, it was Kachan's turn and he looked like he enjoyed his fight against Ejiro. He won, of course, and it was on to the semi-finals. I'll see you down there, Shoto. You better give me a good fight. I could say the same to you. Is defined as third person, Pav is defined as. Who do you think will win? Kaminari eagerly asked as Bakugo walked onto the balcony. Izu, obviously, he said as he plopped down by the people he will never admit to being his friends. I know that Izuku can be pretty badass, but this is Todoroki we're talking about. He has fire and ice. That alone gives him an advantage. Plus, Izuku is afraid of fire. Shinso commented as he raised his eyebrow at the end. Don't underestimate him. I have never once even gotten close to beating him when he's serious. Just watch, he smirked as they all looked over to see a confused Todoroki walk out onto the stage. Where is he? Hatsume asked as she started using her quirk to look around. Sorry folks, it seems that Izuku has had to drop out of the festival due to a family emergency. We will be moving on to the next match and Todoroki immediately advances. Oh no, I hope everything's okay, Denki said with a worried look. Wait, did he say a family emergency? Katsuki looked at his friends wide-eyed as they all nodded their heads. Shit, He immediately stood up and started running out of the room. "Hey, Katsuki, where are you going? It's your match next." Mei yelled after him as he sprinted down the halls. "I'm dropping out," he called back as he rounded a corner. As he sprinted down the stairs, he nearly crashed into a confused heterochromia boy. "Fuck," he breathed out as he stumbled to regain his balance. "Bakugo, what's happening with Izuku? You two have known each other since childhood, right? You must know about his mom. Is everything alright?" Shoto asked as he grabbed Bakugo's shoulders to steady him. "How the hell would I know? They said it was an emergency. He's never told me much about her. How the hell would I know what he is going through right now?" Tears began forming in the ash blonde's eyes as his yell began to fade. "Hey, Bakugo, it's okay. I may not know Izuku too well, but he seems like a strong person. Whatever is happening, he'll be okay." He tried soothing him, but failed miserably. "But he won't. If she were to die, if she died, he'd be too broken to put back together." A few tears started slipping down his face, shocking the other boy at how out of character he was being. "You didn't see him before. Up until a few years ago, he was a completely different person. He used to shrink in on himself whenever anyone even looked at him. He was always alone. He used to cower under me. I used to bully him every day because I didn't want him to become a hero. I just didn't want to see him hurt. It took me 5 fucking years to finally get over myself and apologize. Everyone used to bully him. His bastard of a father used to do things that are unspeakable. Every Friday after I walked him home, I'd sit by my window with my phone waiting to see if he'd either text me saying he was okay or if an ambulance would be called. Although, I knew deep down that if he were to die there, no one would call an ambulance. I would sit there all night, just waiting to know if he was even alive still. His mom is the only thing he has left in his life. She's the only one who has ever actually always been there for him. If he loses her, he won't be okay." Shoto could only stand there in shock at what he had heard as Katsuki escaped his grip and continued to race down the halls. Is defined as Izuku Pav is defined as. "I can't believe this is happening. It's starting to seem like every time I do something with the school, I end up racing home to get to my mom." As I was walking down the halls to my waiting room, I suddenly got an alarm on my tablet. At first I was confused. When I looked, I saw on the security camera I set up that my mom had started to have an episode. I know I won't make it home until it's over, but I need to make sure she's okay and help her. I started running down the halls and passed by Eijiro. I quickly told him I was dropping out for a family emergency and to tell Present Mike and continued my run home. Getting out of the area wasn't as hard as you'd expect, given that the finals at the sports festival were going on. I managed to get through the crowded stands without being stopped as I began my run across the city to get to my house. With every step I took and breath I inhaled, my anxiety and fear kept getting higher. With my boost of adrenaline, I managed to get home in only 15 minutes. Immediately, I ran inside into my mom's room. Even though I knew what one of her episodes looked like and had seen them before, I will never get used to the scene of my mother passed out with blood pouring out of her nose and mouth onto the bed and floor. I quickly ran over and checked her pulse. Luckily, it was stable. Her breathing was a little ragged, but it was honestly better than I feared. I removed her blanket and tried to clean the blood off of her with a damp cloth. I placed a new blanket on top of her. I should probably go over to see Joe tonight and ask if he has anything better or if there's anything different I should be doing. Time to clean the blankets and floor. I hope they won't leave stains. With the bloody blanket in my arms, I walked over to the washing machine and put it in with a shitload of stain remover. While that went, I tried to scrub the blood out of the carpet. It was still pretty fresh and the carpet's dark, so the stain won't be too bad. As I was finally getting some progress on the blood, I heard frantic knocking at my door. I slowly stood up and walked over. I peered through the peephole and saw a huffing Kachan. Seeing him look so worried, I opened the door. "What are you doing here? Isn't the sports festival STI? Izu, is everything okay? Why are you covered in blood? Holy shit, what happened?" "Calm down, Kachan. She's stable right now. She just had an episode." I began to fidget as I thought about what I could have walked into. "Are you okay?" He looked at me with worried eyes and a small smile on his face. "Yeah, I was just cleaning up, hence the blood, and then I was going to see if there is anything else I can get her tonight. Why tonight? Joe, the pharmacist, can only give me the stuff after hours. He gave me a small frown as the realization that it was an illegal trade clicked in his mind. Do you need help cleaning? He looked at my stained gym uniform and then back at my face. What about the sports festival? Shouldn't you be beating Tokiyami's ass and then Shoto's? I dropped out to come here. Besides, it's probably over by now. I left like 45 minutes ago. My money's on icy hot. I felt a splash of guilt wash over me realizing he dropped out just to check on me. You can help me try to get the stain out of the carpet. We just have to be quiet because she's sleeping. I stepped aside and let him in. I'll take care of that. You go take a shower and get out of your uniform. He walked over to my mom's room and picked up where I left off. I listened to him, glad to have a break, and went to take a shower. Izuku Pov is defined as. Shoto ended up winning the sports festival. He exploited Dark Shadow's weakness with his flames and easily won from there. Even through the TV, I could still see the disappointment in his eyes. Kachan was a big help with cleaning. You'd never expect him to be so good at cleaning, but when he was done, you couldn't even tell there was ever blood there. He stayed around for the rest of the night, despite being up past his bedtime. I got a few texts from everyone asking if everything was alright. I lied to them, saying that it was a false alarm. I felt horrible lying so bluntly to them. They were my friends, yet I still didn't want to share such important things about my life. I only felt a little better when Kachan reassured me that I could take my time and that they wouldn't be mad and would understand why I wouldn't feel comfortable talking about it. By 10 p.m., Kachan had cleaned the entire apartment after complaining nonstop about how it looked like no one had lived here for years, cooked in the kitchen for the first time in over 10 years, and asked billions of questions about my job. I had a rendezvous tomorrow night, so I was working on the new gadget while Kachan made small talk with me. By 12, he was already starting to nod off. I can't blame him. Today was pretty eventful. At 1 a.m., I pulled my blanket over him as he slept in my bed and left with my saved up wad of cash from my cafe job. I don't know if I'll have to put a payment down up front if I need to get something new, so I will just have to go without any fun money for a while. As soon as I walked into the Medi-Clinic, Joe greeted me from behind the counter. Hey there Izuku, here to put in more cash. He leaned on the counter as I walked up. Hi Joe. Actually, I pressed my lips into a hard line as I tried to figure out how to word what I was about to say. That's not a good look. Seeing that this was serious, he straightened up again and waited for me to continue. Well, my mom had an episode today when I was at school. I rushed home as fast as I could, but by the time I got there it was over and she was passed out with blood all over the floor. Please Joe, is there anything else I should be doing or giving her? I looked at him with pleading eyes. I hate having to beg like this, but I'm desperate. Well, you sure are lucky Izuku. I actually just got a new shipment that I was going to mention to you next time you come. This stuff is supposed to be basically a stronger version of what you're giving her now. You'll have to change the injection time to as soon as she wakes up every morning. I felt a wave of relief flood over me as I watched him pull out a bottle and some new syringes. I gave him my saved up cash, hoping to lighten my load, even the slightest bit, thanked him, and walked home. Good morning sleepyhead, I said from my work desk as Kachan groaned and sat up. How the hell are you up? It's 8 a.m. on a Saturday, and I know for a fact you didn't sleep until well after midnight. He rubbed the sleep out of his eyes and stretched. How the hell do you sleep so much? I went to sleep around 3 and woke up almost 2 hours ago. Here, I tossed him a banana and protein bar that he caught and immediately started eating. You really should start getting more sleep. That's only 3 hours. Yeah well, it looks like I won't be getting much for a long time. I turned around in my chair, pausing my work. Last night I got something new for my mom. I'm going to have to start putting in more hours at the cafe and still finish my jobs on the side. Jesus fuck Izu. You know, I can get a job or ask my parents and pitch I. No, I don't want to ask for any more of your help. You've done enough. I gave him a smile and went back to my work. He let out a sigh and walked over. What are you doing? That looks like some sort of human skull. Ding ding ding. A while back I started working on making AIs, that's why I made the city at school, I wanted to test it out. After yesterday, I got some more motivation to not leave my mom alone. You're making a robot doctor for your mom. Basically, yeah, I'm hoping I can give it a personality so that she can have someone to interact with more too. I got the basics down, but I still need to make it more realistic. How the hell did you get to be such a badass genius? I fear the day anyone gets on your bad side, we both chuckled at the thought. Oh, sorry to kick you out, but I got a shift at the cafe in about an hour and I need to walk, so, I looked at him with an apologetic smile as he got the hint. Fine, I'll see you on Monday. He shoved the rest of his breakfast into his mouth and left. I got up from my chair and started to get ready for work. I said bye to my mom and started walking. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough money to buy a weekend ticket for the train, so I plugged in dome earbuds and walked. Hey boss lady, how's the morning going? I asked as I walked in and beelined the staff room to put my things away and grab my stuff. It's just how you'd expect a Saturday morning to be at 9 a.m. I got the one regular at 6 right when we opened, but other than that only a few people have come in. Feel free to relax, but as soon as someone comes, you better treat them like royalty. Yes ma'am, I faked a salute as I pre-made some coffee and poured myself some. I sat down at a booth and brought out my phone to see I had some messages from our group chat. Goggles. I'm not going to lie, the angry Pomeranian's nickname is growing on me. Insomnicat. I see you've chosen your side. Goggles has changed Insomnicat's name to Eyebags. Eyebags. Wow, thanks. Boom boom boy. Why the hell are you two texting so early? And who named me this? Boom boom boy has changed their name to Lord Explosion Murder. Goggles. Whoa, since when are you up so early? Eyebags. Maybe someone hacked his number. Eyebags has changed Lord Explosion Murder's name to Anger Issues. Anger Issues. You got a death wish. Eyebags. A bit, yeah. Genius Freckles. Don't say that Toshi. Also what's up with my name? Anger Issues. I thought you had work. Goggles has changed Genius Freckles' name to Broccoli. Broccoli. Thank you May. I am at work, it's just dead RN. Eyebags. I mean, it's 9:30 on a Saturday. Eyebags. You're about to get a customer. Broccoli. Huh, Eyebags. My dad basically just yeeted himself when he looked over my shoulder to see who I was texting and saw you were working. Goggles. Your dad. Anger Issues. Someone made a fucky wucky. Broccoli. Who's your dad? Pikachu. I told you all he was Mr. Aizawa's kid. Goggles. Wait, he is. Broccoli. Only one way to find out, I see someone coming in. I put my phone away as I heard the door chime open. Holy shit, well what do you know? Denki was right, I smirked at Shota as he sat down. What are you talking about, problem child? And don't curse, he sighed as I walked over to grab him a coffee. So, did you adopt him? I think the age gap of 16 is too small for him to be your kid, unless, wait, did you? I'm going to stop you before you finish that. And from how you're talking I'm assuming you found out about Hitoshi. He did a long blink as he sighed, which only made me smile more. Yup, he slipped up and said you were coming over. Wait, do you live nearby? How'd you get here so fast? I walked over and handed him his black coffee. He let out another sigh as he drank his coffee. I trust you to not tell anyone. We didn't want anyone to think he'd get special treatment. Especially after me and Zashi started dating. Sure thing Shota. Oh, by the way, why are you up so early? I figured you'd be the kind of person to sleep until noon, I lightly chuckled at myself. It's very hard to get sleep with a literal speaker living with you. He finished his coffee and I gave him another. What about you? I thought you'd sleep as long as possible. Why did you change your shifts? And what are they now? Just so I know when to come. Nah, I'm always up early. I actually slept in today, woke up at 6 or 7-ish. I picked up some more shifts so now I'm here Monday, Wednesday, Friday right after school until closing, and 9 to 2 on weekends. That's a lot for a high school first year. Why do you need the extra shifts? Money, obviously. Besides, this cafe isn't very busy so it's pretty laid back. I sat down across from Aizawa and drank my own coffee. Why do you need the money? Again, you're a high school first year, Shota raised an eyebrow. Wow, just like Hitoshi. Why wouldn't anyone need money? I asked, also raising an eyebrow. I know my chances of outwitting Shota are low, but I can still try. Shouldn't your parents be the ones getting money? Every household is different. Just because you apparently spoil Toshi, doesn't mean mine do. But what are you buying that you need to work almost full-time to afford? Many things. Like what? You know, basic things and a few others. Your family should be providing all your basic needs. Again, every family is different. Why don't you use your family name? We don't get along with that side of my family. Me and my mother. Where's your father? Who knows? Izuku, come on. This is getting ridiculous. Aizawa sighed as he broke our intense eye contact we had developed. I could say the same thing for you. Besides, why do you want to know? Our only connection is Toshi, and I just found that out. We'll be having another connection soon. He put his finished coffee cup down. And what would that be? Teacher and student. My eyebrows shot up as I looked at him. The ends of his lips curled slightly upwards, seeing my reaction. While the rest of Class 1A are on their internships, you and Hitoshi will begin transferring over. You will mostly just be doing hero training to assess where you are at. We don't get to go on internships too. I pouted. Of course not. You haven't gotten any training. He scoffed at me like I asked if he liked to eat garbage. I wouldn't be too sure about that. I winked at him and he gave me a questioning look. Besides, Kachan never shuts up about what you guys do in heroics. It's almost like I was there. Kachan. Oh, sorry. Katsuki Bakugo, I corrected. He nodded and asked for another coffee. When I came back with refills for both of us, he asked me another question. Why didn't you try out for heroics? I don't doubt you could have passed the exams after watching you in the obstacle course. Creepy that you're watching me, but then again, I was on TV, I don't know what I expected. I didn't try out for heroics so that I could use support items during the sports festival. I was planning on winning that and showing everyone up that someone in the support course won without a quirk. I smiled smugly knowing that I still tied third place with Kachan. Oh yeah, is everything okay? What was the emergency? Shota asked, already back at nosing around in my business. False alarm. I smiled sweetly at him as another customer came in. Sorry to cut this short, but I have to get back to work. See you Monday. I walked away, but not before hearing him grumble something like, problem child. Izuku Pav is defined as hollow left pointing small triangle, Monday filled right pointing small triangle. Hey Denki, I overheard you guys are getting 2 new students, Shinso said as he walked up to our forming group. What, really? Of course you'd know, with Dadzawa and everything. Tell me about them. Kaminari excitedly asked the smug Hitoshi. I heard about them from Shota when he came to the cafe. He showed me some pictures and they were stupid hot. Like, it wasn't even funny how good they looked, I added, my acting spot on. Really? What gender are they? What do they look like? Denki was bouncing as they walked up to the school. They're both boys. One of them has green hair and is really short. I shot a glare at Shinso as he continued, and the other has purple hair and is pretty tall. Whoa, really? You guys think they'd be into blonde guys? I love taller guys, and purple hair is pretty hot, Kaminari asked, clueless to the way Hitoshi's face burned red. You're such a dunce, Kachan added as he began snickering at Shinso. Don't tell me you aren't interested. Wait, maybe it'd be better if you weren't interested. I don't know. I call dibs on the tall purple-haired guy, you can have the shorty. I'd assume that's your type. At this point Shinso had stopped working and a light blush covered Kachan's face as I muffled my laughs. While you guys have your gay panics. Pans, Denki and I both corrected. Fine. While you guys have your gay and pans panics, I'm going to go to class, see you at lunch. Mei yelled as she was already halfway down the hallway. Bye guys, Kaminari said as he walked into 1A. He really is clueless, I said with an amused look. Are you guys going to make a dramatic entrance or are you just going to come in? Kachan asked with a small grin. I like dramatics, Hitoshi replied with a nod. I agreed and Kachan left us in the hall to wait for Shota. After a few minutes of teasing Hitoshi about Denki and being Aizawa's son, the man came shuffling towards us with his sleeping bag. I'll take attendance, and then call you in. You can introduce yourselves and then I'll give you all a free period. Okay. He walked in without giving us any time to answer. We waited a minute before we heard him call us in. I was told that the new students are both hotties. One is short and the other is tall and has purple hair. I called dibs on the tall one, so back off. We both heard Kaminari's excited voice as we opened the door. I watched as Hitoshi turned slightly red but was clearly fighting it. We both walked side by side, and as soon as we did, Denki started talking again. Oh hey Hitoshi and Izuku. What are you guys doing here? Are you really that dense Pikachu? Kachan called over as he smiled slightly. Huh. Everyone watched as the wheels slowly turned in his head, waiting for him to make the connection. Oh, you guys are the new students. He stood up out of his chair as he asked. We both nodded at him and he seemed to realize what he had said and turned bright red. Took you long enough to put the pieces together, Kachan said as he placed a hand over his mouth to stop his laughter. In my defense, Hitoshi said one of them was short. Izuku isn't short. He crossed his arms as he sat down and tried defending himself. What are you talking about? That cutie is so short and precious. Mina squealed as she made very intense eye contact with me. Back the fuck off, Pinky. And he's taller than you. Kachan yelled as he stood up on his desk. It's pretty amusing seeing how much chaos we can start just by walking in, Shinso whispered to me as Kachan and Mina argued together. Yup, this'll be an interesting year. As class rep, I'd like to properly welcome you into Class 1A. It is a pleasure to have you with us and I hope we can all get along and continue our studies together. Iida yelled as he chopped the air. Yeah, Hitoshi said as a swarm from the class came towards us. You both did really well in the sports festival, it's no wonder you got in. Ribbit, a frog-looking girl, Suyu Asui commented. What are your guys' quirks? It was pretty hard to tell during the festival, Uraraka asked. Thanks for dampening the mood. We both grew flustered and weren't able to get any proper words out as the class looked at us confused. Back off, you shitty extras. They haven't even said their names yet and you're already making them uncomfortable. Kachan will never know how relieved we both were. It's only a matter of time before they find out I'm quirkless and Hitoshi has a villainous quirk, but everyone loves procrastinating. Yes, Bakugo is correct. Let us all sit down and allow them to introduce themselves properly. We may then raise our hands and ask questions then. Everyone sat back down at their desks and me and Shinso stood at the front. You go first, I whispered. No, you go first, he hissed back. I don't want to, you go. I don't either, dumbass. I said it first. I stuck my tongue out at him as he sighed and turned back to the class. I'm Hitoshi Shinso. I just transferred from General Studies, Class 1C. He looked at the expecting class and then back at me. What the hell else am I supposed to say? I don't know. Maybe something you do in your free time or some shit. I like coffee, biking and cats. As he said this I could have sworn I saw Shoto's eyes widen and him mumble something about secret love children. Well then, I'm Izuku. I am transferring from the support course, Class 1F. As you can guess, I like inventing things, bugging Kachan, and I also like coffee, I said with a straight face when on the inside I was seriously panicking. Izuku, as a student of my class, I expect a free coffee every morning. I looked over to see that the yellow caterpillar was awake and staring at me with the intensity of 1,000 suns. Yeah, I can't do that. I'll just add it to your tab though, I offered. He contemplated it for a second and then nodded and went back to sleep. Any questions? Hitoshi asked nervously. Immediately almost everyone's hands shot up. Oh, wow, that's a lot, I muttered to myself. Ponytail in the back, Shinso pointed towards Momo Yaoyorozu and she gracefully put her hand down. May I ask why you both decided to transfer instead of coming in through the exams? Oh, I went into the support course to sharpen my skills a bit and so I could use my inventions at the sports festival. I also wanted to come late so that I could embarrass Kachan, I said happily with a small smile. I did take the exams for the hero course, but I didn't pass the practical, Shinso explained. But at the sports festival you were so manly. Eijiro yelled out. I was at a disadvantage since it was against robots. There was a slight silence from the class until I broke it. Next question. I pointed at Sue. How do you know Bakugo? Ribbit. Oh, I've known him all my life. We live in the same neighborhood and our moms were friends from college. Shinso pointed at Uraraka, which I'd been hoping he wouldn't. What are your quirks? She asked, tilting her head. Everyone else nodded their heads and a few put their hands down. They all turned to us expectantly. We both let out sighs as we prepared to answer. My quirk is brainwashing. Basically I can control someone, with a few restrictions, if they reply to me verbally, and I am using my quirk while doing so. Hitoshi glanced around the room, like he was looking for the looks of disgust, which never came. Quote. Izuku, you gonna go? Come on, I did it, you have to too. Besides, they seem nice enough, Shinso whispered to me as he nudged me to go. I squirmed a bit as I began fidgeting with my fingers. I'm quirkless, wow, I just completely blurted that out. At least it's over now. There were shocked gasps that rang throughout the class as I looked down at my feet. I could feel all of their eyes on me as I stood in front of the class. I felt so isolated and singled out. Like it was me against everyone. I was all alone. Suddenly, there was a nudge at my side that took me out of my slight trance. I looked up and saw Hitoshi giving me a small smile. That was enough for me. I looked back at the class and saw Denki and Kachan both giving me proud smiles. I wasn't alone after all. It's not just me against the world anymore. Moving on to the next question, I said as I pointed at Mina and immediately regretted it. What are your sexualities? Also, are you single? Are you ready to mingle? She yelled, jumping out of her chair. Me and Shinso both stared at her and just blinked. Izuku Pav is defined as have fun doing hero stuff without us, Shinso pouted as we waved off Denki and Kachan. Don't be too big of pain in the ass. The heroes probably have enough stress. I called after them. Yeah, we'll be back in a week. Try to improve at least enough to put up a fight, Kachan called over his shoulder as he waved. Bye guys, Denki shouted as he ran into his train. We went back to Ua, which was only a few blocks away, and waited for the rest of 1A to get on their trains for their internships. While his class is gone, Shota will be doing an assessment on our current skills to make sure we are ready for the hero course and if we need to catch up on anything. Shota finally came in and immediately told us to get into our PE uniforms and come outside. We both did as asked and saw him wave us over to some sort of fitness ground. Alright, at the start of the year, I did this test with my students. It won't exactly be the same with you two, but I'd still like to know where you both are physically. He explained how we would be doing basic fitness tests and how he let the others use their quirks, which wouldn't do anything for either of us. Overall, that whole exercise left Hitoshi a panting, sweaty mess on the ground with an average score. I was panting and sweating slightly. I had gotten an above average score, almost double Shinso's. Unfortunately, compared to the rest of 1A, I would have ranked around 10th. Are you shitting me? I even lost to that grape shit. Yeah. Hitoshi was not happy about his performance. If you want to rank higher, then maybe you should try training your actual body more and not just your quirk. I suggested this trying to be supportive, but I think it might have come off differently when I burst out laughing at him ranking dead last. As you know, shortly after the rest of 1A comes back, there will be finals. Throughout this week, I will be giving you tests to see if you are ready to take them with the rest of the students or your own sort of test, Aizawa told us as he dismissed us early for the day. Hey Toshi, want to come to the support course with me to bug May? I have a few things I want to show you too. With a nod, we both walked to my old classroom. We were greeted with a very invested May as she was working on her finals project already. Ignoring her, we walked over to my work area and I grabbed one of my many blueprints to show Shinso. What do you think? I asked with a proud smile on my face as I laid it down on a clean surface. I don't read scribbles, so do you mind translating what that says? I looked at him confused until I realized how I handmade the blueprints from scratch at 5 a.m. when the idea came to my mind. It's a support item I came up with for you. I think it'd be really helpful for your quirk. Although you should really work on relying less on it, it'd still be good to improve. I rambled as he studied my sketches and labels trying to decipher them. Wait, is it a mask? How does a mask go? Both his eyebrows raised and his eyes widened and the understanding finally clicked. Yep, it's a voice modifier. But, It does more than just change your voice. I planned it to be able to copy over voices exactly after hearing them. Of course, there's also basic settings like making your voice deeper or higher as well. I basically vibrated with excitement as I watched Hitoshi study the blueprints. Even though I make custom gear on a daily basis, I've never known the person personally, other than Kachan and my mom. You really planned this all out for me? He asked quietly. I could barely hear him. Yeah, I got the idea a few nights back. I was pretty bored with the project I was working on, so I tried to come up with something different to do. That's why everything's so messy. It was around 5 that I made it. I kept vibrating in my spot with a giddy smile as he listened to me ramble. You made this at 5? Like in the morning 5? He looked at me with his signature raised eyebrow. That's not important. And yes. Now what do you think? Do you want it? I can customize the appearance and add any features you want. Of course, if you wanted me to completely change the setup but keep the basic idea, I can probably work that out. Don't worry about it being breathable. I know how to make a mask feel like it's not even there. I continued to mutter to myself as everyone just ignored me, letting me get it out of my system. Calm down, genius Freckles. Some people are trying to work on their own projects. If you have so many ideas, why don't you come over here and give me your input? May called from under some sort of robot suit. Wait, May, holy shit, May, is that what I think it is? No fucking way. I ran over to inspect her robot. Wait, what are you talking about? She asked as she rolled out from under, completely covered in grease. You're actually making a Gundam. Why did I never think to make one? Holy fucking she. What are you talking about? What is a Gundam? May asked cluelessly as she looked up at me. Wait, you don't know what a Gundam is? Well, then what are you making? It's a kind of armor that you can fit a pilot in to control it. It also has weapons and can fly, she explained excitedly. May, that is almost exactly what a Gundam is, Hitoshi called over. What? No, this is 100% original. May, it really isn't. Great, now I need to restart. She groaned as she got up and went back to her work desk to plan something new out. So, what do you think? I would like an answer as soon as possible because I want to start a new project since I'm not getting assignments from class anymore. Although if you need time IGE, how fast will it be done? Izuku Pav is defined as. What the hell? Hey there Shota, how's Mike and the cats? I asked with an innocent smile as I walk past the confused hero and into his house. Again, what the hell? He turns and closes the door behind me, still with a confused expression. Wait, how do you know I have cats? Have you met yourself? Of course you have cats. Also, you always have cat fur on your clothes, so it's pretty obvious. I smile as I crouch down to pet his 4 cats. Problem child, why are you in my house? He sighs as he finally begins to get over the initial shock. Why, I'm here for Toshi, of course. Why else would I come? I stand up and smile over my shoulder at his stoic face. Not going to lie, you guys got a pretty nice house. I look around at the medium-sized 4-level split. It's a normal house that any family would have. Hey Izuku, Hitoshi calls from around a corner, waving me over. See you later Shota. Also, for your own safety, don't come into the room. No matter what you hear. I stare at his dumbfounded face with a completely serious expression before running off after Hitoshi, carrying a bag full to the rim with everything I'll need. What did you mean by that? Shinso asked with a slightly worried look in his eyes. Oh, I was just messing with him. Nothing should go wrong. I've been planning this for a while and I make sure nothing is flammable. Worst case, he'll just hear weird noises while we're testing. I smile at him as we walk into his room. It was pretty plain. The walls were a soft dark gray with a twin bed and desk with a laptop on it. He had a bookshelf sparsely filled with a few Eraserhead and Present Mic figures and posters. Okay, I was going to say your room is plain. He gave me a small glare, but where did you manage to find these? Do you know how rare Eraserhead merch is? I screeched as I dropped my bag on his desk and started to look at his merch. I never knew you were such a fanboy, Shinso chuckled. You have no idea. I used to have my whole room filled with every piece of hero merch I came across. Although I only had one of Eraser, I carefully picked up the figurine, inspecting it. Really? I never expected that from you. Wait, Did you say used too? You still seem pretty obsessed. Yeah, I sold it all. What? Why? From the sounds of it, those must have cost a fortune. Exactly. I needed the money to buy my mom an actually decent present, and I was pretty low on money, so I put the figurine down and went over to his desk and opened my bag. I noticed Shinso's skeptical face. He's probably reading into my words more than I'd like. It's not that I don't want him to know, it's more I don't want him to look at me differently, and I don't want to ruin the mood for the rest of the night. Anywho, I brought over all my stuff. And I plan on only having to come here once because this bag weighs over 70 pounds and walking here was a pain in the ass. You walked here. Don't you take the train to Ua? I live only a few blocks away. How long was your walk? He walked over to me as I began taking out all the materials. About 45 minutes. What? Calm down. It wasn't that bad. Anyways, back on topic. It's 9 right now. You have insomnia, so I shouldn't be bugging your sleep, I mumbled to myself as I dumped out all my tools. How long do you think this'll take? He asked me, inspecting some of my things. Usually something like this would take about 10 hours, but I have confidence on finishing in around 7. Wouldn't you finish around 4? Shish. It's fine. I brought a bunch of coffee too if you want some. Okay, let's get started. I heard a loud, exaggerated yawn come from the bed behind me as I worked under the light of Hitoshi's desk lamp. How is your brain still able to function? I have your coffee in my system and insomnia and I'm falling asleep, he called as he fell further into his blanket with one of his cats. How are you tired? It's only 3, calm down, I responded, not taking my eyes off my new project. We had a fitness test for 3 hours straight, we brainstormed different design ideas, we had to listen to May's rant and you're saying it's only 3 a.m. Yeah, I heard a loud groan and flop from behind me. Suddenly there was a knock at the door, I flinched from the unexpected noise. No one ever knocks on my door, no one can. Shit, I grumbled as I saw how my hand made a small indent I'd need to bump back out on the side. Come in, Shinso grumbled as he stuffed his face in his pillow. Someone's being dramatic. You sound tired. That's new. Why are you still up? Aizawa opened the door and his eyes immediately landed on me. Ah, problem child. You say that like it explains the secret to the universe, I say as I finally pop the indent back out. I wouldn't be surprised if it did, a muffled voice commented. I didn't realize you were still here. I thought you would have left while I was patrolling. Shouldn't you be getting home? I'm sure your family is wondering where you are, he adds the last part with a hint of a challenge and skepticism. Really? You're back at that? I asked with a sigh as I finally put the mask down and looked at him. What are you guys talking about and why are you having a stare down? Shinso lifted his head and watched us. You should ask him that, I scoffed as I went back to work. Hey Toshi, you can sleep if you really want, I'll just let myself out when I'm done. Won't you need my head to measure soon? Nah, I already have your measurements. Besides, I'm just about to start decorating, that shouldn't take long. When did you measure my head? He yelled as he rolled over in his bed. Don't ask questions you don't want the answers to, I sang as I grabbed my paints. Problem child, have you not even checked if it fits? You shouldn't paint it if you will need adjustments, Shota said from the doorway. I almost forgot he was still here. Wow, you don't trust me. That's hurtful. Don't worry, it'll fit like a glove, I mumbled as I finally found the right purple. I think you should check first, there's no harm. I turned dramatically in Shinso's chair and stared at Shota. Fine, I'm telling you Shota, it's going to fit perfectly, I grumble as I stand up and multiple cracks are heard from my knees and back as I do a small stretch. I walk over to the half-awake Hitoshi and lift his head. I gently place the mask on him and click a button to clasp it shut silently, perfectly fitting him. Holy shit, you weren't kidding when you said you know how to make it feel like the mask isn't even there. Hitoshi said in a voice that sounds exactly like mine as he touches it. His eyes go wide as he hears a different voice come out of his mouth. Whoa, I sound just like you. That is what it's supposed to do. When you were complaining about the tests, I just used myself to test it so I'm already programmed in. How does it fit? I ask as I quickly check a few of the clasps. It fits perfectly. I honestly can't even tell it's there. How the hell did you do that? It's really weird hearing my own voice praise me. I go over to a button and get ready to click it. So, Shota, I told you it'd fit perfectly. What do you have to say for underestimating my expert skills? I click the button as I turn and raise an eyebrow. I will admit it is impressive. How did you get so good at making masks? He walks over and observes Shinso from closer up. Gotcha. I click the button again and ask Hitoshi to talk. What did you do? Both Hitoshi and Shota's eyes go wide as Shinso's voice changes to Aizawa's. Whoa, wait, he cleared his throat. Problem child, I will never admit this but I talk about you almost non-stop in the morning wishing for your coffee. Wait wah, Aizawa's eyes go red and his hair begins to float up as Hitoshi falls over laughing on the floor. Hey Hito, Sho, what's all the commotion? A new voice joins from the doorway. We all turn to see a tired Yamanda rubbing his eyes and yawning. Whoa, you look so different with your hair down, I say as I look at him. He was just wearing a t-shirt and sweatpants with his hair down and no glasses. Oh, hey little listener. What are you still doing here? Shouldn't you all be sleeping? He yawned again. Sorry babe, I'll be there in a minute. Then we can have all the cuddle time you want. At Shinso's words with Shota's voice, Hitoshi and I fell over laughing. Aizawa glared at us with his quirk activated, and poor Mike was left half asleep, confused out of his mind in the doorway. Izuku Pav is defined as, "Geez Shinso, you look like more shit than usual," Hatsume said as we walked into the support course room after yet another testing day with Aizawa. Luckily, today is the last day. Tomorrow everyone will be coming back from internships and we will be starting normal classes. Wow, thanks, he grumbled as he sat at the nearest chair with a sigh. You can only blame Izuku and Dad for this. It's not my fault. I thought that when you said insomnia you meant that you actually barely sleep. How was I supposed to know you slept a lot when you worked out? I asked as I walked over to my workbench. Over the past week, I had been going over to Shinso's house every day around 8, after my mom went to sleep. Most of the time I worked on projects from my job and talked to him. It turns out it's a lot funner to work when someone else is there. It definitely helped that he bought my excuse that they were just fun projects I randomly came up with. Although, I could tell that whenever Shota came back from patrol, he'd be skeptical about my excuse. May came a few times to help me on projects and bounce ideas for hers off me. Although, we may or may not have ended up all sleeping there one night after an intense video game competition. I won by the way. And here I thought that you and Katsuki were just over-exaggerating when he said you sleep for 2 hours, Shinso sighed. Yeah, problem child, that's not healthy, try sleeping more. Jesus fuck, May screamed as she fell off her ladder from jumping from the new voice. I'm healthy enough after over 4 years of doing exactly this, why stop now? I turned and stared at Shota who stood in the doorway with his usual monotone face. Problem child, I work 2 jobs and am a dad and husband. I get more sleep than you and am always tired. Shota, I also work 2 jobs. I am a student, friend, and son. I get less sleep than you and I'm fine. Maybe you need more coffee. Make me more money. I saw him raise an eyebrow when I let slip that I have 2 jobs, but before he could say anything, Shinso spoke up. What are you doing here, Dad? Please tell me you didn't forget a test. Please, I'm done. I don't want to see how long I can hang upside down or how much weight I can carry over my head without my legs giving out. He begged while staring in horror at his dad, remembering some of the many tests we did. I think you're exaggerating a little, Toshi. Also, I think those tests were really telling how badly you need to work out. I laughed as I remembered how fast he dropped out of the tests. Not everyone is as freakishly strong and smart as you, Izuku. Stop rubbing it in. So, you don't want to see the final product I finished last night after you fell asleep? I teased. You finished? I thought you said you were taking a break to work on one of your fun projects and then start up again later. Hitoshi yelled as he ran over to me as I stood with my hands behind my back. What really happened was I got a new order that I needed to finish along with the one I had been procrastinating on. I really didn't feel like making another set of trackers and receivers with special receptors on each. Well, I finished those and didn't have a lot left, so I finished it really quick. I shrugged as I saw Shota's eyes narrow slightly at me. I don't have the slightest idea what he suspects I'm up to or what my home life is, but I won't lie that it's amusing to watch the pieces fail to fall in place since he's missing too many. Can I see? He asked after many failed attempts of sneaking behind my back. Pay up, I said as I looked him dead in the eyes. His face morphed from what looked somewhat like an excited puppy, to a terrified deer on the highway. What? He asked with wide eyes and his mouth hanging open. I saw from the corner of my eyes that Aizawa's eyebrows were shot up with wide eyes and Mei's eyebrows were scrunched together and mouth open. I looked at each of them one at a time with a completely emotionless face until I went back to the shocked Shinso. I sighed and reached into my pocket and grabbed my phone. Through their shock, they didn't have enough time to react to my taking pictures of each of their faces until I put it back in my pocket. The looks on your faces are priceless, I snorted and then burst out laughing. What the hell was that? You looked dead serious. It was sorta scary how you looked, Hatsume said as she recollected herself and shivered slightly. AWWH, thanks, I smiled innocently as I looked at the slightly amused, slightly annoyed, slightly impressed, slightly mad, but overly emotionless as always Shota at the door who just shook his head slightly with a sigh. So, I don't have to pay you? Hitoshi asked, still in shock. Of course not. I was the one who practically begged you to let me make this, and if I was going to make you pay I would have said up front. Besides, we're friends so I'm not taking your money, that'd just be weird. Oh thank all might, I'm flat broke, Shinso visibly relaxed as me and Mei snickered. Try getting a job, I suggested with a laugh. He pouted at me, clearly too lazy to even think of the idea realistically. Can I see it now? He asked impatiently. Fine, fine. I pulled it out from behind my back and his eyes went wide as he stared at it. It was a black mask that covered the lower half of his face with purple accents that matched his eyes and hair. It had some texture on the side that was actually from my screw-up when I put Goldberg's logo on it and then tried getting it off and making it look intentional. It was slightly boxy, but that was Hitoshi's request. If it were me, I'd make it as thin as possible. Holy shit, this thing looked professionally done. He gawked as he grabbed it gently and put it on. Whoa, that really does look cool. How does it work? Mei asked as she began walking over and inspecting it. I made a manual, I deadpanned as I gave them a thumbs up and pulled out a booklet. You made an owner's manual? Shota asked slowly from his new spot near us with a raised eyebrow. Yeah, if I tried explaining it I'd just start muttering and no one would understand me. Besides, I didn't want to forget anything. I sighed slightly as I pouted about knowing how carried away I can get. Holy, how many pages are in this? Hatsume asked as she started flipping through with Hitoshi. Yeah, that'll probably take you a while to get through. I scratched my head as I saw the slightly worried look on Shinso's face. Don't worry, most of that is special features that you don't need as much. The main thing you need to know is how to record and switch voices. Once you use it a bit, it should become muscle memory. How long exactly did you spend on this? Aizawa asked as he glanced at the manual. About 2 hours to plan, 7 hours to build, and an hour or two to decorate, so about 11 hours. Holy fucking, language Hatsume, Shota lectured as he activated his quirk on her. Sorry, she laughed nervously. This is so cool, I can't believe you made it so fast. Everyone stopped and stared wide-eyed at Hitoshi whose voice kept changing pitch and every now and then changing to his, mine, younger Kachan's, and Shota's. Oh yeah, I added Kachan when I was testing if it worked on videos. It was an old video from when we were like 3 so that's why it sounds like a kid. Wait, Mei said in a serious tone that made all of us look at her as she stood with a downcast gaze, you know what this means right? We have access to Katsuki's voice. Not only that, but his voice from when he was 3. We hold so much power right now. Good night Mom, I called as I closed her door and went into my room. I sat down at my computer and typed in my many passwords. Once in, I saw that I had a new order, from a new customer nonetheless. I opened it and immediately got a bad gut feeling. This new client had sent in a large request for multiple gas masks and weapons, including some sort of needles. Something about this doesn't feel right. Izuku Pav is defined as Kachan. I yelled as I ran towards the smiling blonde who had just stepped foot off his train. Izu. He opened his arms up for a hug as I got closer. I had a giant smile on my face that immediately vanished as I slapped him across his face. Hitoshi, Denki, and Mei all stopped in their walk towards us as the sound of my slap resounded off the train station walls. Kachan's face was to the side with a shocked expression as he tried to understand what was happening. "You fucking asshole," I screamed at him as my eyes began to water. "Stupid crybaby traits. Whoa, Izuku, calm down. People are starting to stare." Shinso tried to get me to calm down, but I only clenched my fists and grit my teeth. "You fucking asshole," I repeated, and I tried to keep my traitorous tears in. "You didn't text or phone me once when you were gone." All of our friends' sweat dropped hearing the reason I had slapped him and struggling not to cry. "Izu, I'm sorry, they took my phone away." Kachan looked down at the ground as he mumbled an apology. Did he just apologize? Why are they acting like he just ran over his cat? I overheard Kaminari whisper to the two others who had come to stand by us. "You could have at least texting me saying that you wouldn't be able to be on your phone all week," I muttered. He reached out and grabbed my hand. "I'm really sorry, Izu. I tried to, but they took my phone before I could send." "I promise I won't do it again." I sniffed and wiped my eyes as he said this. "Fucking crybaby traits," I grumbled as Kachan chuckled at me. "Hey, don't say that. Your mom gave you plenty of good traits. Like your hair and eyes." He ruffled my hair as he pulled me into a small hug. Okay, well, now that whatever that was is done. Can we please address the elephant in the room?" Mei asked as she stared at our weird scene. "Yeah, it's been killing me," Hitoshi said as he started to try and muffle a growing laugh. "What?" I looked at them as they all burst out laughing and pointing at Kachan. I looked over and finally noticed his unique hairstyle. "Shut up. It's not my fault. Best Jeanist made me style it like this and now it won't go back." He screamed as he let me go and tried fluffing it back up. I fell on the group clutching my stomach as inaudible wheezes came from my mouth. "Not you too, Izu. It's not fucking funny. Welcome back. I hope you all learned something from your internships," Aizawa sighed as he walked into the classroom. He stood at the pedestal and glanced over the class, but immediately took a double take when seeing me poking Kachan's weird hair and him with an emotionless face. Nice hair, Dubakugo." Denki, Hitoshi and I immediately burst out laughing as everyone else tried to stifle their laughs. "It's not my fault. It won't go back," he grumbled as he looked away. "Don't you always just make an explosion in your hair to style it though? I saw you do it one day in the bathroom," Kaminari said between laughs. "Wait, that's what those noises always are," I yelled as I stood up in my new desk behind him. He just turned and glared at Kaminari and side-eyed me. He grumbled something under his breath as he lifted his hand to his hair and I looked away until I heard a small pop and a giant burst of laughter. I looked back to see his hair back to normal and a bit of smoke coming off it. "I'm going to try and unsee whatever that was," Aizawa sighed as he turned back to the class and silenced them. "Anyway, as some of you may know, there was an incident in Hosu with the hero killer stain. 2 of our students were involved." I glanced over at Shoto and Iida. Shoto had already given me a briefing on it on the phone. "Due to this, the school has decided to finally put a plan into place that has been debated for a while now." He stopped for a dramatic effect as he glanced around the dorm's system. Cue giant outburst of excitement. "Everyone shut up and let me finish." He activated his quirk and everyone immediately stopped. "Of course, we will need parental permission and you won't move in until around summer break when you can start to move your things in." I raised my hand and he stared at me for a moment before asking me to speak. "What will the rules for curfew and stuff be? Also, you don't have to look so scared to call on me." "Geez, Shota, calm down." He rolled his eyes at me and I smiled innocently. "The curfew will be 8 p.m. unless you have permission to be out later. You will all be told to have your lights off by 11 p.m. and not leave until 5:30 a.m. Yeah, this is going to be a problem." He continued to answer questions as I tried figuring out how it'd work. "First of all, I don't want to leave my mom home alone. I could visit her, but Ua is too far in case she has an episode. I usually give her her shot before I go to school, but I can't if I'm expecting to go from the dorms to school. Not only that, but I'm usually out of the house from 12 to 3 whenever I have a trade and I stay up until around 4 building. If that's all, I'm going to sleep. You all have a free period." he slithered into his yellow sleeping bag and morphed into a caterpillar. Hey, nerd, calm down. You look like you were just told you have 5 seconds to blow up the school or else you won't get any coffee. He chuckled at his own joke as he turned around to talk to me. I let out a dramatic sigh as I flopped down in my chair. Well, this sucks. I wouldn't have minded living in a dorm. What are you talking about? We were just told about it. How do you already know you can't go? Denki asked as he walked over with Hitoshi. There's a lot of reasons why I can't go. For starters, the curfew. Everyone made an noise as they remembered my messed up sleep schedule, and I need to be at my house every morning before school and I live too far to go back and forth. What do you have to do? Shinso was cut off by a strangled scream and slapping noise from a few feet from us. I turned around and immediately felt my blood boil. Momo was standing with her hands pulling her skirt closer to herself and Jiro had her hand extended as if she just slapped someone. Which I'm assuming she did since Mineta stood with a hand to his face and drool sliding down his face. Why did you do that? Jiro yelled as Mina went over to help Momo. Well, excuse me, I've had a really hard week and she was just standing there. Give a man a break. Mineta cried as he glared back at the fuming Jiro. What the actual fuck is wrong with you? Me, Denki, Hitoshi, Kachan, Jiro, and Mina all said in unison. He looked at our group with shock. Come on, you know you all wanted to take a peek too. I just have the courage to do what you couldn't. He yelled, catching everyone's attention. Why the fuck would anyone want to do that? Kachan growled. Courage my ass. The only balls you have are those fucked up ones on your head. I yelled as I ran a hand through my hair. She was basically asking for it with that hero costume she wears. He crossed his arms and looked away, giving me the chance to tackle him to the ground. I pinned him down to the ground and punched his face right in the nose. What the hell? He screeched as he struggled under me. I tightened my grip on him. Listen here, you little grape shit, I growled under my breath so only he could hear. If you ever even think about touching a woman without her consent again, I will personally deliver you to hell. And don't you ever say anything about them asking for it. I got off of him and stood up to see him shaking, frozen on the floor with blood dripping down from his nose. All right, that's enough. Mineta, go to Nezu's office, you're expelled. Yaoyorozu, if you'd like you can go to Recovery Girl and take the rest of the day off. Izuku, I looked at him expecting some sort of punishment. Good job. Bro, that was badass. Denki yelled as I sat back down at my desk. We watched as Iida had to carry Mineta since he was still frozen in place to the principal's office. Kyoka walked with Momo to Recovery Girl's office and everyone went back to what they were doing before. What did you say to him? He looked like he just watched everyone get killed mercilessly, Shinso asked with an amused smile. Nothing much, I sang as I wiped my hands off on my pants. Shit. Do you guys happen to know how to get grape juice off of pants? Izuku did what? Mei asked as she shoved more mochi into her mouth. Yeah, the guy was scared shitless and needed to be carried out. Denki said as he retold the story. I almost feel bad for him now. He's going to get a panic attack every time he sees a tree or bush because he thinks it's you. Kachan scoffed as he fluffed my hair and stole my pork. Yeah, very funny. Stop taking my food. Just make me katsudon if you want it so bad. Nope, you never beat me at the festival so I'm not obliged to make any. It's called being a good friend, dumbass. I crossed my arms as I sighed. Yeah, what happened to your bet? Both of you left before the finals so you didn't even fight, Kaminari asked as he ate his stir fry. Wait, you guys should still have a fight. We can ask the teachers to give us the gym or something and you can duke it out. I'm sure Aizawa will let us since we got Hitoshi. Mei yelled as she stood up, beaming. I mean, we could. I muttered as I side-eyed a smirking Kachan. Guys, Denki whispered, as he got Mei and Hitoshi to come closer, we should invite people to watch and make them place bets. That way we can make some money while we're at it. Damn Pikachu, you really can be smart when you want to. Hatsume squealed. Anyways, I said as I got slightly concerned for my near future. I got approved to participate in the finals exam. I smirked as I saw Shinso's jealous face. Stop rubbing it in, he grumbled. Watch him pair you up against All Might with Katsuki or something and mark you like you've been there all year. Kaminari said with a snort. Oh, I hope he does that. I squealed. Imagine getting permission to beat up All Might with my best friend. Hurtful, they all said with fake hurt expressions as I called Kachan my best friend. Hey, you guys are from the hero course, right? A girl with orange hair and green eyes asked as she walked over to us. Yeah, Shinso said with a raised eyebrow. That sounds weird to say now. I overheard from an upperclassman that we're fighting robots like from the entrance exams for the practical, she said to us as she watched Denki smile with relief. I don't know, I mumbled, confusing everyone at the table. Think about it, we clearly got some fucked up luck, so they probably needed to make the tests harder this year. Izuku, stop crushing my dreams, Kaminari cried. I guess that would make sense, the girl said. Oh, by the way, my name's Itsuka Kendo from 1B. Izuku, 1A, Katsuki Bakugo, 1A, Denki Kaminari, 1A, Hitoshi Shinso, also 1A, Mei Hatsume, support course 1F. If you ever need any kind of upgrades or additions to your hero costume, come to my office. That's not fair, you get the whole room to yourself now, I pouted as I watched her smirk grow. Hey there Shota, I brought you some coffee, I called as I walked into the staff room with 2 cups of coffee. Problem child, while I appreciate the coffee, you can't just walk in here, it's staff only, he grumbled as he sat up in his sleeping bag. It's not like you have any big secretist I don't already know about. I handed him his coffee and sent a knowing glance at All Might in his deflated form. I snorted as I watched Shota spit out his coffee as he realized I knew that is All Might. You how but I laughed more as he stumbled over his words. I mean, it's pretty obvious. I'm not even going to question how you figured that out. Is there any other reason you're here? Don't you have a shift soon? He asked, sipping his coffee again. And I'm not going to question why you have my shifts memorized. Yeah, I do. I just came here to let you know that I won't be moving into the dorms, again, more of my coffee being wasted on the ground. I just told the class this morning. How do you already have an answer? I don't need to talk it over at home. I already know my schedule and that the dorms wouldn't work for me, I shrug as he narrows his eyes on me. Are you sure? We want to have the whole class living in the same building, not only that but don't you live far away? Again, not going to question how you know where I live. And yes, I'm sure, it just wouldn't work. Now I have to get to work, see you there. I called as I walked out the door, but not before I heard him grumble, problem child, under his breath. Izuku Pav is defined as. For this year's finals, you will be going against one of the staff members in pairs. No, why do my theories have to be right? I was just kidding. Denki cried as he fell to the ground. Denki, do you have a second quirk letting you see the future or something? I asked as I pulled him back up. Are you Sir Night Eye's secret love child or something? He does have a yellow stripe in his hair while you have a black one. Shoto put his hand to his chin as he began another theory. I mean, it sorta does make sense. I joined him in his theories after he figured out Hitoshi and Shota so fast. We have pre-made your matchups based on a number of factors. Please look up at the screen to see who you are with and against. Aizawa sighed as he put up a screen for us. Holy fucking shit, you were right again Pikachu, Kachan breathed as he saw that we were paired and against All Might. Yes, holy shit, yes. I bounced in my spot as I started forming different plans on how to beat the living hell out of All Might. Calm down Izuku, it's still a test, Shoto reminded me. Kachan, I have so many plans. Wait, Shota, I called as I continued bouncing. All the staff and students looked at me confused except my friends and Aizawa and I continued to vibrate. Yes, problem child. Am I allowed to grab different inventions or am I only allowed to use the ones on me right now? You have to use what's on you now. Okay. I continued vibrating as they explained how the pro heroes will have handicaps and some more rules. I watched impatiently as other teams went. I explained my many plans to Kachan until we came up with one together. It's times like these I'm grateful he's able to keep up with my rambling. Everyone else gave us really weird looks, especially when I handed him some metal toothpicks. Bakugo, Izuku, it's almost your turn, get on your bus, Recovery Girl told us as we walked out. I'm so excited, just don't go overboard and mess up. You have to keep a level head, he is the #1 hero after all. Kachan, who do you think you're talking to? I can keep a level head if I need to, I said, completely changing my expression and tone to emotionless. Good luck guys. If you fail, that just means we can have our own camp here. Denki pouted after his fail against Nezu. I wish you luck. Do your best, Shoto said with a small smile. Thanks guys. Oh, and also, you better watch carefully. I smirked as I got on the bus and drove off, leaving them confused. Okay, you remember the plan right? Of course I do Kachan, although I'm not really sure about when yo. Izu, it'll be fine. Besides, it'll be worth it in the end. Okay. Quote, ready, let the finals begin. We heard Midnight's voice over an intercom as we started. We were in a faux city like Kachan's entrance exams. We immediately went into different alleyways and used mics I had to talk. Smash. A giant gust of wind blew through the main road where we started, luckily we were both blocked. What the hell, if this was real he could have killed civilians and look at all the damage he did. I hissed into my mic as I watched a car fly by. At least we know where he is now, he said calmly. I'm going up to the roofs, better view. I climbed up a fire escape in a matter of seconds and was soon roof hopping. He's a few blocks away. It looks like he is just standing by the exit waiting for us to come. Then let's give him what he wants. I stealthily ran across the roofs, making sure he wouldn't notice me. Whoa, Izuku got up there so fast. Kaminari breathed as he watched his friend climb up the roof. He looks so natural running across. When did he learn roof hopping? Shoto asked. Little did the two know, a tired teacher was also watching just as closely. I grabbed a small metal ball out of my pocket as I neared All Might. He clearly wasn't looking up towards the roofs so he didn't notice me on the ledge. Geez Izu, don't fall, Kachan laughed as I saw him in an alley nearby. I chuckled to myself as I readied my arm to throw. I threw the marble as far as I could slightly behind and to the left of All Might. As soon as it hit the ground Kachan's voice rang out. Die. A round of loud explosions were heard and smoke filled the area. I watched as All Might turned towards the noise. On cue, I jumped off the roof and tuck and rolled to land safely and ran towards the distracted hero. Me and Kachan both approached from his blind spots and immediately I closed one of my eyes. Smash! All Might yelled as he sent another blast of air towards where Kachan's voice called. He was left dumbfounded when he saw no one there except a smoke bomb. Immediately, I grabbed two of my metal toothpicks and pricked my fingers, a handgun filled with paralyzers and my Eskrima sticks came out silently. I aimed my gun and shot when I was only a few meters away. A strangled yelp was heard through the smoke as I got his arm. Shit, I breathed. I missed my mark. He must have turned. Loud explosions were heard and more smoke came from where Kachan had started hand-to-hand combat. At least now he can't use his right arm. I shrunk my gun back down and crouched down behind him until he was reeling to hit Kachan. I jabbed my sticks into his legs making him fall down to his knees with a grunt. Stupid quirk, I mumbled. His quirk was making it so that the electricity barely had an effect on him. Suddenly, a fist collided with the back of my head and my face was pounded into the hard asphalt. I grit my teeth as I felt a crack from my nose. You bastard, Kachan yelled as he let out a smoke screen and picked me up and ran into an alley. Phase 2, he whispered to me. I nodded and rubbed the blood from my nose. I skillfully jumped up a building and started to run around the roofs. Holy shit, is he okay? Mina screamed as she watched her classmate's face get hit into the ground, leaving a small crater. I get that it's a test but that was a bit much, Ribbit, Sue added as she stared at the screen. He's fine, Shoto said monotonically. Yeah, I bet he has some giant plan. They really hate All Might, Kaminari whistled. Why? Shota chimed in. About a year ago, there was this sludge villain that attacked Katsuki. Izuku was able to knock it unconscious until All Might came. He took all the credit, ignored them, ruined Izuku's notes for one of his projects, and flat out told him he can't be a hero without a quirk, Shoto said with slight anger in his voice. He what? Everyone yelled. Yeah, they said that he just laughed at them after he asked and then jumped away, Denki sighed as Aizawa raised an eyebrow. Young Bakigo. I suggest you come out before I have to force you out. All Might yelled loud enough for even me to hear. You dumbass, my name's Bakugo. Kachan screamed as he started blasting explosions at All Might. They exchanged blows as I continued to run around roof to roof. That should be good, I whispered as I sat down and brought out a small metal cube. I stretched it out and got to work. What the hell? Shoto yelled for the first time at the screen, shocking everyone. Although, they couldn't blame him. All Might was holding a fuming Bakugo up by his hair and kneeing him repetitively in the gut. He's taking this way too far. Zero whispered as he watched in horror. What's wrong with him? It's one thing to be a test and it's another thing to use him as a punching bag. Momo said as she covered her mouth with tears filling her eyes. This isn't right, Shoji said from his spot in the room. What the hell is wrong with you, Yagi? Shota whispered to himself as he watched the number one hero smile while beating up his student. Izuku Pav is defined as. I looked up after hearing a strangled cough and my eyes went wide. I stared in horror as Kachan was thrown against a wall and started coughing up blood. I felt my blood simmering over and I quickly finished what I was doing and jumped over to him before All Might could land another hit. I rolled out of the way of his fist as he made a giant hole in the wall where he once laid. What the fuck? I growled as I laid the unconscious Kachan down a bit away. I placed a small plasma pill into his mouth to make his wounds scab over faster and made sure he swallowed. I stood up and glared at All Might. Young Midoriya, I was wondering where you went off to. He chuckled as he stared at me. You son of a bitch. Don't call me that. Don't even address me at all. I reached into my pocket and grabbed one of my toothpicks. Are you ready to meet the same fate as your little friend? He got into a fighting stance as I grit my teeth. I pricked my finger and immediately shot my gun at him in one swift motion. Through the shock, he wasn't able to react and I got his 2 kneecaps. He cried out as the metal BB bullets hit him. They aren't enough to severely injure him, but they are sure to leave one hell of a bruise. As he tried to recover, I grabbed my brand new tablet and clicked a button. Why you little? He was cut off and I began to play around with my new machine. I call it, the bitch puppet, made just for you. Now, let's have some fun, shall we? Remind me to never get on Izuku's bad side, Kyoka said as everyone stared wide-eyed at the screen. How is he doing that? Ojiro called out as they all watched the number one hero punch himself with his quirk and Izuku sitting emotionlessly with a remote beside the knocked-out Bakugo. He did tell us to watch closely, so I suppose this was all their plan from the start. Todoroki commented, this test is insane. First a teacher ruthlessly beats up their students and now a student is controlling the number one. Uraraka said, voicing everyone's thoughts. That's Izuku for you. Kaminari let out a breathy laugh. Damn problem child. Okay, have you had enough now? It doesn't feel too nice having one for all pummeled into you now, does it? Maybe think about that before you use it on your students, I said coldly as I stood up again. How are you controlling me? All Might screeched as I made him punch his face again. Irrelevant. I grabbed another toothpick and pricked my finger making a stretcher appear. Carefully, I lifted Kachan onto it. I guess we should end this, shouldn't we? I sighed and pulled out a toothpick and threw it into his shoulder like a dart. As soon as it made contact, it expanded and wrapped around his whole body, besides his head. I can't move. Why can't I use my quirk? He moved his head around trying to get out. How does it feel, being quirkless, even just for a few moments? Just remember, I walked towards him and whispered into his ear, quirkless doesn't mean useless. I placed the handcuffs on his immobile wrists and walked away with Kachan on a stretcher. Izuku. The door to the infirmary slammed open with a giddy Denki who was followed by Shota, Tsuyu, Fumikage, and Mina. Oh hey, I said plainly as they walked in. I had a few bandages on my nose covering the 2 stitches I had needed. I'm surprised you aren't knocked out on a bed after she healed you. You know, with only 2 hours of sleep a night you shouldn't have enough energy, Aizawa scoffed as he looked at me. What are you talking about? She didn't even bother trying to heal me. She said that she didn't want to know what would happen if she took away my energy. So I just got stitches, I shrugged as their eyes grew. How's Bakugo, Ribbit? Sue asked as she looked around. Recovery girl is healing him right now. She said he'll probably be out for the rest of the day and might need to stay the night. Don't worry, I already called Mitsuki. Who's Mitsuki? Tokiyami asked. His mom. She just said to make sure he doesn't fuck up again. I chuckled remembering our phone call. I mean, it is his fault, he wanted to fight him one-on-one. Still, what All Might did wasn't right, Mina spoke up as she looked down. True, but let's be honest, what I did to him would have looked almost as bad if he hadn't beat up Kachan. Kachan just asked that I record it all for him and that it'd be worth it, which it sorta was. I shrugged as I spoke. How were you able to do all of that? Shoto asked as he sat down beside me with Denki. I frowned slightly at them. I told you to watch closely. We were. Nothing happened. Kaminari cried as he tried to remember. I pulled out my phone with a sigh and brought up the recording I stole from their security cameras. How did you never mind? Shota sighed. Watch closely, I'll point it out. I played the video to where I threw the metal ball and paused it. That was a recording of Kachan's voice and a smoke bomb I used for a diversion. I fast-forwarded to before I got my face smashed. Here, I threw some sticky marbles that stuck to his clothes. That's why I got my face hit, I had to stay there to throw them on. I continued to explain how I left to make my remote while Kachan fought and that the marbles let me control his nervous system and interfere with his receptors. Then I just threw one of my compressed traps that I based off Shota. It can erase quirks and capture people, basically putting his scarf and quirk together. I looked at everyone to see their shocked expressions. Yeah, you guys pass. Now, I need your coffee. To be continued. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Now we will see you in the next video.